My half-brother used to be a methamphetamine addict. One time we went to his house, and he lived on the second floor of an apartment complex in Vista, which is known as the meth capital of the United States at the time. And the first thing I saw when I walked in the door was a bunch of newspapers, about an entire Sunday's paper's worth of newspapers across the floor, and then an entire transmission of a vehicle, greased up, all on the newspaper so it could be worked on. So after this, he starts to show us around the place. He was pretty proud of his apartment, and we go into one of the bedrooms, and there's this big rug in the middle of the floor, and we're like, what's this rug about? And he grabbed it by the end and whipped it right off. There's a massive hole in the floor. Giant fucking manhole. And this was the second story, remember? And you look down it, and you see the top of a car, and you see a bunch of tools and stuff. And what he had figured out was that the garage that comes with the apartment rental was located around the back of the building, but directly beneath one of the bedrooms. And he didn't like having to go down the stairs and go around and go around and open the garage door in the middle of the night when he was tweaking and wanted to work on something. So he got it. I don't know what it was, a big sledgehammer and some tools, and he busted himself a hole. But the thing was, he was proud of it, and he thought it was just like, we should be like praising his gumption. And so the first thing he jumps down in, I was there with my dad too. I was in high school at the time, and he jumps down and goes, "Come on down." So we go down, we take a look at all the stuff, and then we're supposed to like, how are we getting back up? And he's like, and he pulls the toolbox over, and you jump on this, you get back up.
It's a platformer.
Hello and welcome to GFW Radio. I thought that's where you were going with that it was a platform game.
The moral of the story is
jumping puzzle.
When you rent an apartment, it's a good thing to find out where your garage is at.
And then drill a hole.
Yeah, I guess the landlord never looked under the rug or stepped on the rug.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you just fall through?
But why not a ladder? A guy with tools usually has a ladder.
I don't know, man.
Because when you're tweaking, you got all that extra energy.
But I swear that none of that story is bullshit at all.
I thought you were going to say also that there was like a hole in the roof of his car, so then he could just like jump in and drive off. Batmobile kind of.
It's like Voltron.
Let's go.
He goes down the tube into the.
Let's improve your story.
Yeah.
Add
See,
that's
that
the problem with the truth.
Time.
It's just not good enough.
That's too
It would have been a good enough story for me if it ended at the transmission in the living room.
Yeah, that's true.
It was a lot of heavy stuff.
Could he actually get it back together, or could he only take it apart?
I doubt he could, because his whole thing was my dad was trying to like rehabilitate him and get him off of it, and so he off the meth, that is. And so my dad was always into muscle cars, like Mopar cars and stuff, and he had a 70 Dodge Challenger, and so he got my brother like a 70 Camaro or something that he got cheap, and he painted it up for him, and he's like, all right, we're going to take this down to the quarter mile, and this is like going to be what we do, and this is going to get you straight. But instead, he would go down there with his prankster wife. I'm sorry, I know he's not listening, otherwise I wouldn't be telling the story. He'd beat my ass. But so they'd go down to the track, and the whole time, like my dad would be racing or something. The whole time, like they would just be pulling out the fucking wiring from the dashboard and all kinds of shit, and the car would never run. They would always, my dad would ever get it running, he'd make sure it didn't run by. Figured out he knew how to make magic.
Wow. Now you're gonna get a call, and your brother's gonna be like, "Sean, I listen to the radio show every week. It's been my connection."
It was
to you for all these years.
This was a long time ago, and he'd been straight for years and years, living a very, very
We're gonna send
good
him
life.
right back.
Yeah, chalk this up to the sins of youth.
Okay,
right. Which is what we're all about here.
Yeah,
at this podcast.
Celebration
at
of that.
GFW Radio, which is neither GFW nor radio. Discuss.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be talking about GFW in a moment. The initiative. But we haven't even said like who we are.
Your tone was so sinister.
Yeah.
Let's start right there.
Oh, we'll be talking about it. To my left is Ryan Scott. I'm Jeff Green, editor-in-chief of the PC games section of OneUp.com. Still getting used to saying all that. Next to me is Ryan Scott. Hey, Ryan.
Not even know what the hell.
Yeah.
Okay. Ryan's talking to you. Oh, there he is. Shit. He's ruined it already. Ryan, we didn't think Ryan was going to show up. Hey, Ryan. I was just introducing you.
We're going to play a gag.
We are going to do a gag in which you were actually not here.
Get your seat, Ryan.
But now he really is here. Great. You ruined it.
Yeah.
Hold on. We won't edit this.
Well, go around the room while he puts his...
While Ryan's putting his headset on, next to him is...
Anthony Gallegos.
Check. Hi.
There's
Stop
Ryan.
interrupting.
This is the worst intro ever.
Wow, I'm the sixth chair today.
Sixth chair, yeah.
Man,
So we
you're
have
high energy. I think you've been in the bathroom doing lines.
Probably tweaking.
Don't tell people.
We got this thing we decided at lunch we want because our bathroom is so dirty. Actually, matter of fact, last week, Anthony was in there, and
Oh,
someone
God.
had taken such a monstrous shit that it clogged the thing up. He used his iPhone to get a picture of it. And then
Ew.
it showed me, and I was upset too because it was like if you had to go in there and it was your time, there was nothing to do. And so I sent this to all the men on the floor.
Was this in the
picture.
handicapped one? Or the other one?
This wasn't, and I tricked
Shit,
it out
that's the
with
one I usually
tinypic.com. They let you put effects on it, so I had like these starbursts and stuff flying up out
Wait,
of
did
the
they
hole.
not flush the toilet?
No, the thing is that someone tried to flush it and it got even worse. It just exploded everywhere.
So I sent that around looking for a culprit. No one fessed up to it. But then what we decided today at lunch was that sometimes like a dairy cooler or a meat cooler at a grocery store will have like these enormous and heavy plastic flaps, and they overlap one another, and you kind of like brush through those to get into the cooler. I want our bathroom door to have one of those made of wet naps.
So we never found out who did it?
No one fessed up.
It's our fourth, not our fourth guest, but the fourth person we're going to introduce.
Sixth chair.
Oh, Robert
you.
Ashley.
Yeah.
Robert Ashley, who's drinking...
I say that like I'm showing up at the DMV.
Robert Ashley.
I swear I called.
Robert Ashley's drinking Indiana Jones drink today.
It's Dr. Pepper.
Awesome.
But yeah, it does have a lot of Indiana Jones. I'm
What
so
does
excited to
Indy
actually
taste
be able
like?
to get a Dr. Pepper in the machine here, which
I think he tastes like
never
Dr.
around.
Pepper.
Tastes like Dr. Pepper,
All right.
but with corn syrup instead of sugar.
I read an AP article yesterday where some archaeologists were claiming that Indiana Jones's methods are not realistic.
Do you contest
Was this
that?
posted by Ryan Scott,
Do you
San
contest that?
Francisco?
No.
A real archaeologist tries not to trigger the Volder trap.
That was a news article.
Yeah, it was
Like,
an
they
AP
were
news
legitimately
article, and they were talking
griping.
about how, real archaeological digs are like boring.
Nobody
And you don't.
commented on the news article I sent around that was similar. It was about the high school kids who had gotten stoned and then went to a they went to a graveyard and
that was old, and
it was and
yeah, but
they dug up a corpse and then they used the skull. To make a bong. And then they smoked out of it.
This course,
I sent it to all of the Ziff Davis staff, and nobody
corpse is over
responded.
80 years old.
I don't know what to say to that. I mean, I read it and I was like, oh my God.
Did you just say that was similar to the AP making fun of Indiana Jones's?
Yeah, well, similar to an archaeological dig.
Oh,
That's how I was relating it.
I just wish I could.
it was about as archaeological as Indiana Jones then.
Yes.
I just wish I could have heard the conversation leading up to them going to the graveyard,
Exactly.
digging up a body, and making.
That's
a bomb
my
out
whole
of someone's
thing.
Skull.
What's the last thing you would want to do when you were stoned? You would think.
I know.
Go to a graveyard,
Dude,
do all
that's
that,
such a good idea.
all that work.
They must have been drunk.
The worms get you 16% higher.
I don't know. It just seems like a lot of work and just kind of a bummer.
Yeah,
You know?
Kind of.
There might be some THC left in that guy's brain.
brain resin.
All right, I feel
This is a
sick.
horrible podcast. We've already talked about taking dumps.
We're about 8 minutes in.
I
haven't
can
even
finish
gotten
it up.
marijuana.
I'll
Robert
introduce
Ashley's
myself.
intro.
Heads.
No, I did it.
Oh, he did it.
I did it. Now it's Sean.
I'm Sean Elliott. Another thing for wanted to let our Southern California listeners know, maybe those in San Diego County, is that if you see Datsun 280Zs, the 80s models, know that whoever's driving is addicted to crystal meth, and that the codes for these vehicles, you can call them either a crystal caravan, a methmobile, a shit sled, which is shit is slang for crank, tweak, chicken, a burner bonzo. What else? Anyway, yeah, keep an eye out for these vehicles, and then I'm going to pass the mic right now.
And Sean Malloy.
And Sean, why don't you tell the folks at home what you're holding in your hands?
Oh yeah, let's get the thank yous out of the way
Sean
now. I'm holding the first and only GFW Radio bumper sticker.
Very
That-
nicely done.
Terrence
Stas? Might be
Stas or Stasa. I don't-
Stasse.
Very, very coolly made for us, and it's got like all of us. It's got Anthony on there, and because I'm assuming you can find a picture of Robert Ashley, aka Bobito Max Chill.
But he's mentioned
game
on there.
boxes. He has Dr. Maximum Chill, which is on top of the Trauma Center. Is that the name of that game?
Yes,
Drums.
under the knife.
And then he's also got Max Attorney, Max Chill, Ace Attorney, Berkeley, and Code Pink. It says I just caught that. And then there's like a bunch of utterances all like radiating
There's
out
a lot
from
going on in
GFW
this
Radio.
bumper
Yeah, there really is.
So
It's
this
really well done.
That was super cool. Yeah, we
Thank
passed
you
that
very
around
much.
to everyone today. Then I had to thank Davin Lowe, who out of the blue, I get a box, and he sent me the War DVD box set. I talked about wanting Ken Burns' DVD documentary series and how it being too expensive for my taste at Best Buy. Apparently, he found it on sale on eBay for $19 and hooked me up, which is super cool of him.
crap.
We need to close down more often.
Yeah,
We're getting a lot of cool
gifts.
gifts.
And then
The only
Gaming
thing
Age.
is the fourth disc of that set is him masturbating to GFW Radio and calling out to you.
That's just not. That wasn't
This
necessary.
was a good gift.
This was a nice gift.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
Even Sean smearing.
You'll
gifts.
find out when you get to that
Sean sad.
disc.
I gotta get home, guys. And then the other thank you goes to Gaming Age Forums codename Gowan's 007. He sent it. I wasn't here when you opened it.
Oh, right.
But he sent like an awesome box of snacks and what our friends
That
in
was the asbestos.
the United
candy,
Kingdom
yes.
call sweets and we call candy. And there was some awesome stuff in there. That was good.
Did you eat all that?
It's almost all gone. Not on my own. I let everyone would come in the office and grab stuff. So like Anthony would. You got quite a bit of that, but that was really good too. I like the International Candy Club. I mean, I got to reciprocate if there's some a foreign listener, foreign to us. That is, I mean, if you live some other
If
country,
you're a foreigner,
want some
Foreign
other,
is relative.
yeah, of course. If you want some American candy, I'll hook you up. But it's like every time I go to another country, like the first thing I do, it's so sad, so American. But I go to the snack shop and I just like whatever like.
well, at least you don't go to the
crazy candy they
McDonald's
have.
first.
So it's like I feel like I just got out of the airport when there's boxes
like
around.
home.
I just hate going to Europe and seeing Americans in the McDonald's. Just pisses
I don't
me
do
off.
that.
Get out of there. Eat some food from the country you're in.
That is
so, it makes me
Or
so
eat
mad.
some good
So
food from
scary.
America. Why do we have to
Yeah, at least
export
go to
our worst
Arby's.
food?
No,
But
Just in general, it's fucked up to do that. Yeah, I mean,
McDonald's does special foods for the countries they're in.
They do.
I would probably
you can
be a
get beer
sissy.
in a couple of the countries.
You can get like
beer.
a lamb burger when you're in Scotland.
yeah, and like in Japan, the burgers you can get them with eggs on top of them. And
Ew.
in Germany, when I was there, I saw like the big ads. The McDonald's had a bunch of like Indian food, like curry burgers and stuff.
That's where you can
which is
get beer too in the German
in the
McDonald's.
German code. But that was such a waste. When I last went there, and Melissa was like, "Oh God, I'm going to starve." I heard like we're going to be like 30 pounds lighter when we go. And I was like, "Why?" Like, you think it's just all head cheese and stuff? And then like Robert, you talked her down, which was good. Before we went, you were like, "They have delicious food," and of course they did. It was fantastic.
In Germany?
Yeah,
Oh,
German
yeah.
Of course
food
they
is
do.
Incredible. Yeah, I love it.
yeah.
So
Anyway, here we are.
there's our thank yous.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks.
to everybody who's been sending us nice stuff. And the nice emails keep pouring in. They do.
It's true.
I don't have any to read
Yeah.
here. I forgot. But yeah, but
If you sent us a nice email, thanks.
we thank you. We are
didn't,
reading them and we thank
Screw
you.
Hey, wait, I have somebody to thank actually.
Yeah, Ryan.
I had forgotten to do it on last week's podcast, but thank you to Double Vision, who's the guy who runs 1UP's Team Fortress 2 server, for going especially out of his way to help me get a bunch of medic achievements. The guy was exceedingly patient with me.
Oh,
So thank
Well.
you.
What did he do? What's it like to have a banana rider?
Pretty awesome. I got like 37 medic achievements.
Are you done yet? Did you get them all?
No, I have one,
Okay.
Is it killing you?
and it's like an impossible one.
When
It-
last
Are
we
you up
spoke,
late
we
at
were
night,
down to
like
3.
cringing that you don't have it still? Do you wake up at like 3
I
going,
think about
fuck?
it every now and then. No,
Yeah.
I don't do that.
All right.
did you get the weapons, the special stuff? Or?
There's only one weapon I'm missing. I have to
Okay.
get all the achievements to get the last weapon,
So,
which is
but-
like the one weapon you would want on all the time. The Uber saw. Yeah.
So are you gonna? I mean, when you're done with it, you're still gonna play it, right? Like you spent like so much time getting the achievements, so you can get the fancy weapons. You're gonna use those fancy weapons and actually
Assume
put
Hell
nothing.
yeah. Yeah.
Right? All right.
No, you're
all right.
not.
Yes, I am.
Yes,
I
I
bet-
I believe him.
I don't believe them.
It'll be
I believe him.
awesome.
Well, report back.
Yeah, we want to hear.
So this
And we
week,
can check because of Steam.
this week was loaded with press events.
Yeah, which is why we're a day
Yes,
late, by the way. So if you're upset that we were off by a day, it's because we've been hustling back and forth between these dumb.
We're actually not off by a day. I'm going to post this tonight.
You are.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's good.
I
I say
good man, Sean Malone.
what I was gonna
Unless I
suggest-
didn't, then what Jeff said is true.
Huh?
What I was going to suggest is that we just go through some of the events this week chronologically, because I know that only
some are still
Anthony and I
embargoed.
Sean only went to one.
Right.
And then you've been hitting them all up.
No, I went to a few.
So Monday was EA's Spring Showcase.
Which I have to say first, I thought they had a really impressive PC lineup there. Surprisingly impressive.
Many PC exclusive games.
Big props to EA this year.
They win the PC game.
So far this week, they do win. They had a great lineup of PC stuff.
One of them was entirely new IP. Another was like a sequel to. They won't call Battlefield Heroes a sequel, but another installment in the very popular PC series. New MMO is always daring. And then bringing Mass Effect over from Xbox to PC was cool. To games for Windows,
right? And they made a pretty good case for Mass Effect on the PC too. Sean Malloy and I sat and talked to. We stood and talked to Ray Musica, who I don't know when that interview is going to go up. Actually, is it going to be after this podcast?
I was supposed to email Rob, the guy who filmed it and is editing it. Ray's name, and I forgot. So maybe it will never go up now.
Well, maybe it'll go up. Maybe you'll see it on One Up or not. But he talked a lot about it, and he actually had me convinced to try it. And of course, there was the news this week. There was first the bad news about the copy protection, and then the better news that they said, never mind. After there was a shitstorm of protest.
That's for the BioWare game. Is that true for Spore as well? Because I know that they had said that Spore was going to use the same thing.
I had heard it was true for Spore that they're going back on it, but I don't have confirmation
it's still
from
early
Will
on
Wright
Spore.
Or anything. Yeah.
Right. Spore's still a ways off, and my early prediction will be they'll do the same thing as BioWare, because obviously this is not popular.
That was a pretty fast reaction, too.
They reacted, in 24 hours, 48 hours?
How did the proposed system work? Did you actually have to put in that 20-digit code on a weekly basis?
I think it was
10 days.
I think it was every 10 days I had to verify that you still had the CD. You had to play with it.
I think it was automatic.
That's pretty reasonable to me.
It didn't freak me out either.
But people always freak out about anything that has to do with that secure ROM thing.
This is a better solution anyway. What they came up with.
What is
it? It's a one-time online validation, and then you're done.
Yeah,
right, which is more standard.
Yeah,
yeah. I wasn't necessarily going, "Oh my God, this is the end of the world." But,
yeah.
I think I'm a little more willing to accept copy protection schemes than some people.
Right.
But
yeah.
So
So let's talk about some of the other games we saw. Yeah.
Did you? What am I gonna say? Let's just hit some non-PC stuff that was there to fuck it all up. Actually, no. My justification was I was talking to Robert about Skate It for the Nintendo Wii. So I was like, I'm thinking about this first segment of the show and making sure everyone in here's got something to say. And I was like, Robert didn't go to the event, so but you are a fan of Skate. So
yes.
they showed the Nintendo DS and Wii versions of the game, and sequels or whatever, and it's called Skate It. The thing that looked interesting to me, DS version not so much, but the Wii thing, it looked cool enough where they had you doing the tricks by moving the Wiimote in different ways, but the balance board was kind of interesting. And even though, they were anticipating the concerns and saying this isn't actually rubbing your stomach and patting your head, this being standing on the board, leaning left and right to turn back and forward to go up on your tail or your nose, but then using the Wiimote and spinning it in your hand and twisting it and jerking it at the same time to do the tricks, being a weird disconnect between feet and hands. But when I watched that, I was like, I wanted a wakeboarding game again, and this would be perfect. You just hold the Wiimote like a leash. And I say this because the EA's wakeboarding game that they put out in the tail end of it was the middle of the Xbox and PS2's life cycle was so awesome. That was the last game you'd imagine me liking. And I played it and I got really into it, so I wanted to see that.
Wasn't that an Activision game, though?
Oh, it was. My bad. It was Activision, yeah.
Wasn't that an Activision game?
Yeah, the thing
you got that wrong.
The thing with the Wiimote and the balance board was it almost seemed harder than actually just skating.
Right.
Watching him do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they admitted that they had just started implementing this.
Yes, it was
totally
super early. They'd only had the balance board for a couple weeks or a few weeks. Yeah.
But if they could work it out where you're able to just use nothing but the balance board,
That'd be great.
The problem is those games have so many tricks.
Yeah.
Finding a way to bullshit it. Like, you remember the old arcade game Top Skater was fun? You actually stood on the board and it had the two rails. And the way that they did it is they basically just bullshitted the trick system when you're in the air. But, I mean, that would be fun. Even if they had just that. That would be pretty fun.
Well, Skate already has sort of a simplified system. Like, it's not as crazy as Tony Hawk. You can do a lot of tricks, but a lot of them are sort of technicalities. It's like, oh, you did a kickflip backwards. You know, it's not it's pretty simplified, sort of like real skateboarding. So
turning we think like turning jazz hands into a skateboard trick, which is like that's got to offend a skateboarder or two somewhere.
Yeah, you got to feel like you're feel cool on the thing. Yeah.
Sorry, I just spazzed out.
No, it's okay. I always wish
did my hands in Robert's face like I was doing tricks.
You did do tricks. That I always wish for these like new sort of alternative control schemes. Like I hope that like eventually they'll have a little more depth and precision. Playing the Wii is cool, but I always wonder, like, 5 or 10 years, is there going to be some way that really lets you do a lot of different things with motion and
Control.
Well, I'll talk out of turn, but because it's not related to this event. But this week I've been playing Lost Winds, which is one of the WiiWare launch games, and my review will be up as soon as I actually write it. But but it's a really good implementation of the Wii remote. Like one of the best I've seen yet, and it's not doing anything revolutionary yet, except it's just it's using it very judiciously and smartly in a way that's not like too cute or too gimmicky, but it's a matter of like manipulating the wind by waving the thing, and then variations on that.
Lost wind is, and you're basically fanning farts.
Yeah, it's the joke waiting to be told. Yes,
that's cool.
Now it has been. That's okay, and now it has been. Yeah. What's that lost wind?
Yeah, I heard good things about that. I'd like to play.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not an alternative thing like you're talking about, but it's a really good use of it.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
I like that. So we can move on. Someone else can hit up another game in the lineup.
Let's talk about BattleForge.
Let's do.
Did we all see that?
I
know what it is?
I don't know what that is at all. What is that?
BattleForge
wants to break it down.
Sean Malloy, could you break it down?
Sure, I could do that. It's an RTS, real-time strategy game, where you kind of have a Magic the Gathering style deck that you draw from to bring units onto the field, and they actually want you to. This is the thing.
It's online only.
It's online only. And it comes with like a pre-made deck or a slightly randomized deck, quote unquote, in the game itself. But then you have to buy booster packs. So like, just like Magic the Gathering, your potential army depends on the virtual card you have.
Yeah, they kind of glossed over that during the demo part.
We had to extract that from them later.
Yeah.
When you're playing, the way it looks is if you imagine your spell bar on the bottom of any like MMO that you're used to, or even an RTS, your commander powers or things like that. And instead of a power, there's an icon that represents one of the cards. And then you basically drag it from that bar and throw it onto the field. And then if it's a card for, say, like a giant warrior, he'll then materialize from the card. Maybe it's a spell. You throw the actual card in the area that you want the thunderstorm to
and
hit. And then they will...
Right. And you need to capture a control point similar to Company of Heroes to sort of expand your territory. And those territories power up the cards.
Right, and those control points also give you the resource, which is
That's
orbs.
what I meant. Yeah.
And the other twist is that it's like 12-player cooperative campaign.
It's all co-op. Well, there actually is PvP, right?
Yeah, there is.
But their main emphasis is that you'll be playing with others against the AI in a campaign-long, series of battles.
Yeah.
So
the section they demonstrated looked cool. They only had 2 people playing, but it was nice to see. The players would take a route that was high ground, and then another player might route through a valley, and they would meet up, and then the player on the high ground would use his arrows and long range attacks to set up an ambush, and then the other player's infantry would then march through the plain and fight the enemy in there. And that kind of stuff seemed pretty cool to me. It's always hard to see like some RTSs when you just see a bunch of units doing stuff and you don't really get a sense of how anything's shaking out. Is it just this unit's more powerful, it's going to win? Or can you... I mean, this is the other thing, the fear of microing. When they're doing the demonstration, they're like, there's no micromanagement or anything. But for me, it's like that's where the fun is. It means that you're not just throwing like a blob of units at another and then knowing that like, well, I have better stats, I'm going to win. Now I just basically watch some stuff happen, you know.
Right. When you look at the cards, they do have little descriptions like this guy is good at tearing down walls or something like that. So there seems to be some.
Right. There seems to be some element of which cards do I play at what time to counter the other units or to counter the environment or whatever.
Why cards? You know what I mean? I mean, I know card games are cool or whatever, but what's the difference between cards and just saying it's an RTS where you just buy units?
My guess is it's just probably just to get people used to the idea that they're going to be purchasing something extra.
Collecting cards is like...
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like collecting fake virtual cards without an actual card is a leap I'm not ready to take.
Yeah.
Even though I don't necessarily want a bunch of paper cards cluttering up that don't really do anything.
It depends how much they charge for them, though, in my opinion. Just like I was telling Sean that if they made like a virtual Warhammer where I could buy fake models, but they were like 1/3 the price and I could play online, I would totally do it, even if I never owned those models.
Yeah, those cards, you know, I don't know how companies like this deal with like the Magic the Gathering license, because this thing looks exactly like a Magic card. So I don't know. I guess Magic doesn't.
Like the World of Warcraft
right. I
card
guess
games.
nobody has a copyright on that thing. But to me, like as someone who played Magic a long time ago, like this looked like the best implementation of like a Magic style card playing game on the PC. Like way better than the Magic the Gathering games themselves.
I guess it's supposed to kind
of.
So
if you like that kind of game, the cards were cool. I thought.
I was just gonna say, I guess, and you know, it's like beats like sitting at a gathering and like being like, I play my red orc.
Right. Well,
and that's it. There's no red orc to actually see do combat. Now you actually get to see a red orc.
First card.
Don't you see him in your head though?
Well, that's no fun. Imagination's no fun.
It's also the first like PC card game where they're doing something that only a PC could do and you couldn't really do with cards at a table at an event like that.
Right. I
like
mean,
if you like, I have Judgment.
They tried.
No, but that you could totally play that game without the graphical side of it playing the camera.
Right.
It's really just a card game that happens to like have fireworks go off on the TV screen.
Right.
That was totally a card game implementation. This is an RTS, which is something that Magic the Gathering doesn't have, which is something.
But
that
it still seems to be
doesn't have
a game designed around a business model.
It is
instead of a game designed around a game.
I don't. That makes me skeptical. I don't think I don't think they can coexist. I don't think that they can be mutually exclusive.
For what
am I trying to say?
Though, like
it could work.
It could work. I mean, in the demo they gave us in front of the whole crowd, and then in the demo we got on our own, it looked good, without them even getting to that part of it. Sean extracted that point out, and then it was sort of like but the game still looked good, even just for what it is. So, I don't know. I liked it.
Go ahead, Anthony.
I was going to say, it still looked like you unlock cards through playing, too. It isn't like you only get the cards you start with.
That's right. There's that.
I could definitely see a game that incorporated, like, rarity, instead of, like, making you buy cards to get superior force, you're just playing it and you somehow find that you've got the most badass card by accident.
I mean, Guild Wars was in a lot of ways an MMO with a card system, but they didn't call them cards, they called them skills. I mean, you collected them in much the same way you would cards.
Yeah.
And that worked cool. But this you actually do buy a booster pack, quote-unquote, virtual booster pack, with 15 cards that are randomly selected.
Yeah.
Oh, God, they're randomized?
Oh, I thought...
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
They have
I thought it was you got to pick.
See, what
I don't know.
I think maybe there are some you can pick. I'm not entirely sure what the business model is, but the guy did say that there is going to be a booster pack sort of system. There might be also a la carte system, but maybe they're more expensive or something. Maybe you buy, for $1 you can get 15 random cards, or for $2 you can get Birdo.
I'm sure that there will be lots of parents willing to do that just to keep those cards like off the floor and out of everything. Like, you ever know like a little kid who's into Magic cards and they're like all over the fucking house?
Little kid, nothing, dude. The dude I lived with last year in college. We had to like go out and forcefully like get him those white boxes with the drawers so he could like put them, because they'd just be everywhere.
And the challenge for them is going to be
to file them.
The challenge for the design is going to be like how to make it playable and make you feel powerful enough to play online without having to buy anything. Like, you should be able, whatever you get out of the box should be totally viable.
Yeah.
And then, finding the balance between, well, if it's totally viable, why are people going to buy anything?
And don't forget too that the emphasis of what they're pushing here is co-op. So it's not really about how you have to you're going to have to play against somebody who's been willing to pony
It's more like
money.
a Diablo RTS or something.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about this before. We were just waiting for that co-op RTS to come along where the campaign is
right.
co-op.
And they're also talking about how, the cards are color-coded in the same way like Magic is. So, whatever, the red ones are fire. So, like, Sean could go in with his whatever, his cold ice deck, and I would go
I would totally be a water deck.
See, and I'd be the fire guy, and so there'll be ways of where you may be valuable to a team to take down a certain boss or whatever based on your deck, even if it isn't like some Uber deck.
When we first read the description, I was like, this was before we saw the game. We were considering it for print preview, and to me it seemed like Robert was saying, it's problematic in that it's a game based on a business model, but also. Like, I just couldn't get past why the cards. What's up with this? There's two different games. There's card games, and then there's games like this, and why try to shoehorn the other one in? But when I did see it, I mean, I was like, okay, I can understand how this is working. And since they just use the cards as like these visual metaphors for spells
metric.
And stuff.
You know what a card is.
That seemed cool enough.
Well, and maybe I didn't see it. I don't know. Is it like random? Like you can only have 5 cards at once. So then you're like, oh, I just got this card that was in my deck. Awesome, or something like that.
I'm not sure. It looks like, judging by the demo, which maybe this is just something they set up for the demo, it looked like the cards that you had out were persistent, and maybe you drew them from the deck at the beginning, or maybe you built it. But then they all had cooldowns after you used them. So like you would summon Red Dragon, which was one of 8 cards at the bottom, but then it would kind of go dark and then slowly fade back into light. So it looked like, I don't know if there might be a way to.
I was going to say,
new
that
cards.
would make sense if it had cards and it was like you randomly get, like you try and, like in Magic, you try and like fatten your deck with certain cards you want, and then you just get it at like, the right moment or something.
I don't know
like
if there's
that.
like a shrine you walk into and then you can shuffle your deck or something. But.
It was cool, and I don't know. I just was happy to see a game like that at an event like that too.
Yeah, totally.
Well, RTS co-op isn't like Dawn of War 2. I heard that was RTS co-op, isn't it?
It sounds like it will. We'll know more about that. There's actually a press event for that this Friday, and there's going to be an embargo on it, but so we'll be able to talk about that sometime next week, I believe.
Sweet.
Along the same lines with using a business model and marrying it to the game design, this Battlefield Heroes that they had there, and that was interesting. It was fun to play. I mean, it looks great. And it was interesting for me because I had done a cover story on it with just looking at video and talking to everyone making it and going through slides and stuff. And I got to actually play it and see how that, the experience of playing it compared to their description of what it's like to play it. But the thing that immediately was kind of troubling to me is that, again, you have this spell bar, this task bar on the bottom, and it was loaded up because we had these pre-leveled characters, and it had all these powers. I had sticky bombs. Basically, it's like a force push. It's like if you have a bunch of enemies around you, you hit it and it throws them aside, or if they're in a tank, it'll like knock the tank over and kick them out of it. So then you can then run and jump in the tank, and that was an awesome power. It's like it's a perfect solution to how do you have vehicles. And and every game has tried to find some other one. Halo, of course, you could jack someone from the vehicle, jump on it, throw a grenade in it. And this, like, you can have vehicles that are powerful against infantry that's less powerful, but then still have the balance work out. But then, so it was like I looked at all these powers and weapons I had and said, this isn't right. I'm just going to log out and make a new character from scratch. And then when I did that, they started with just 2 weapons and no powers. And, basically just like a shotgun, and then I could choose either a rocket or a sticky bomb to fight the vehicles with. I don't know. I don't have much of a sense for how quickly you acquire these abilities, but the difference between the level 1 character and the characters they had was like an order. I described it in the preview. It's on now as an order of magnitude greater than like any balance imbalances in Call of Duty 4's perk system between a new player and a level 55. So you have this situation where you take opposition that's like battle hardened, their experience, they've been playing longer, and then on top of that, they've also got access to the best powers and weapons, and you put them against the new people, and then you ship it as a casual game. I don't know. I don't want it to seem like such a serious thing, because part of it is working toward that. Part of it's to give you that lust of like, hey, how do I get that? And then you play your way toward it. But my experience is that anytime you have a competitive game, a game that like a shooter of any sort that allows you to compete with someone, casual, whatever you have on your drawing board just kind of disappears right away. And it was proven there. We were playing, there was like 4 workstations for the press, and then everyone else was in their Redwood City beta testing thing. And those guys, they have this thing where they like want you to know that they can kick your ass. And they want you to know that even though they've been playing it for 50 hours a week, they're about as good as you'd expect if you played the game for 50 hours a week against someone who just sat down when there's like crazy like techno playing in the background and beard farmers brushing against you and almost spilling their drinks down your back. And they let you know. But so it was like they were proof. It was like, yeah, that, from my point of view,
wasn't a good strategy.
That's a good thing, though.
They got to be like, let the press win.
Yeah. It's so weird. Now and then, it's like you'll play in a press review session and you get the sense that that's happening. But
I've noticed it several times playing games. Like I went for that Unreal Tournament story for GFW, and I remember playing against the people making it, and I'm not a
You were just standing still with the knife, right?
No, but I would be
Still
running
fragging
around.
everybody.
I would be like running around going after people. I'd notice people just, like I'm doing.
Oh, you got me again. You're great. Isn't this game great?
Yeah, did they ever
so
go?
Good?
Did they ever stop and go, Robert? That was a wonderful headshot. After you
You're
fragged him?
great at this game.
It was more
Do you
like,
love it?
It was
Do you
more
like
like,
it?
wow, I can't believe you managed to kill that guy with a machine gun by shooting him in the feet so many times. Yeah.
Other times, though, you'll have like the beta guys that just will not give an inch, and they're there to make your time hell. But it was interesting because it did prove that whatever the trappings are, much like Team Fortress 2, if you're serious, consider yourself a serious shooter player, and you want to be rewarded for, your skill set, like the game will absolutely do that. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do in it too with the powers. I mean, you can. And to differentiate it from regular Battlefield games, I mean, you can rocket jump, of course, jump up over buildings and things and throw your sticky bomb, switch to your sticky bomb in midair and throw that on someone else. Other weird powers are like a sniper can mark you so that everyone on his team not only sees you indicated like with an outline of some sort, but they can see you through walls. And then when that power is like acting on you, you'll have an arrow above your head so that you know that you are basically, you can't hide from anyone.
What is it? I mean, it only works for one person. Like someone can decide that they just want to see you behind walls,
and it will enable their entire team as well as themselves to see
just you
for a time, just you for a small period of time.
That's weird. You would think it would be the opposite. Like you would have the power and then suddenly be able to see everyone from the opposing team through walls, but instead you pick one person that everyone on your team.
There's something like that in WoW too. I'm sure like everybody on the side of the room is like thinking Hunter's Mark like immediately is what it sounds like.
And there's even equivalent in Fortress Forever. Team, basically it's a Team Fortress classic remake for Source. The sniper in that can tag you with like a tracking bullet, and then a radar will come up, and then you can see that person for like a small amount of time moving throughout the map. But the other thing is the planes. They're fun to use, and it was like immediately if you played Battlefield, even though it's third person point of view, you're like, okay, I'm used to this. Like this handles the way I would expect. But they had like this like dedicated flyboy on their team who was just like hogging the plane the entire time. But that just reminded me like that's always been an issue in Battlefield games. When you have like some super powerful vehicle that you can like get points with, everyone's going to want to use it. And so to avoid that with tanks and Jeeps, what they make it is that if you go to the place, it just will spawn there. There'll always be one for you. But you can't do that with planes because then you're going to have like everyone's going to be flying, right? And so there's only one, and that means you got to wait. But then the downside is that everyone else wants it, so they just wait on the runway. Meanwhile, their team's losing, but they don't give a shit because they just want to get the plane and blow someone up. So clearly they haven't solved that issue yet.
Can you team kill like the people in the plane
better.
like you used to be able?
They knew better on that. By ramming into teammates, I didn't try that at a press event, man. But they knew they had
maneuvers.
The other thing is the character creation stuff. Did anyone else get to mess with it?
No, I was standing behind some dweeb with fingerless gloves on for 20 minutes and he never got out.
Yeah, that was kind of waiting.
Demonius X was
waiting
there.
For the
Did he really have fingerless gloves?
Yes.
That's so fucking rad.
Oh man.
Everything there works as advertised. I mean, the game loads as fast as they say. You go to a website and you hit play now, and it's like boom. The next thing you know, you're playing the game. But the character customization thing is really streamlined. So it's like paper doll. You got one on the left. And Jeff, you're doing this weird look. You're still worrying that the fingerless glove guy is going to beat your tiny little Latino head. It's a Demonius X quote.
Not.
Sorry,
I'm listening to you. Go on.
That was uncomfortable because you don't watch Demonius X. Oh.
I know Demonius X.
Personally?
Yeah. He and I go back. Yeah.
He was at this event.
We got derailed.
The character customization menu is really cool. It's like there's just like a paper doll looking thing of your character, and then there are all these tabs to switch to pants or pouches and all these things that you can put on your character, and you just drag them and drop them. And the assortment is pretty flexible, even though they want to have this pseudo World War II vibe. I mean, like I was talking in the thing I wrote about, like I got a sombrero, and there's like a guy that was like a U-boat captain with the peg leg, and he had
great.
all this ridiculous
I
stuff on.
approve.
And I mean, you can really throw just like bizarre stuff. I mean, and they'll draw stuff from Australian soldiers from World War II, and then you can mix and match that with maybe like a Scots kilt or something. But that was pretty fun to mess around with. You can't actually change the shape of the body or anything, and that's partially how it works and how it's flexible. But unlocking all that would be fun. And I mean, you can have a team. Like I was like kind of sad that when I was flying the plane in a sombrero, because they're open cockpit, and they're like miniature size, kind of like Metal Slug, and I had my big head sticking out the top. Like I wanted guys sitting on the wings in sombreros also. That would just be like a rad way to it.
Did they talk more about any of their
attack my
potential microtransaction models? Like, to me, clothing packs seems like a harmless way to get people to spend money.
Right.
It would be, and the dice reps there weren't really saying anything other than like, oh yeah, you'll be able to earn stuff and you'll be able to buy stuff too, but like, well, what do I buy and what do I earn? Like, no real details.
I'd pay
there.
practically anything for
I'm sure
a
Bad
sombrero.
Company is a giant experiment for
It's
them,
funny
too,
because now that we talk about this, it's like Mass Effect, which is like a port, was like the only game there that wasn't like based on a business model for PC.
Right, because
Is that right?
Warhammer Online.
Because Warhammer Online
MMO.
pay to play and
Left 4 Dead.
Battleford. Oh, that's true. Left 4
That's
Dead.
not, there's no ulterior motive behind Left 4 Dead except zombies.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's on Steam, which, it's like Steam is a
okay.
solution to the PC problem. Everything that's not on Steam, they're like, fuck, what are we going to do? So
I can't wait to
Which one
talk
of
to
those
them
we're talking?
again. I mean, I didn't have much time to see everything there, but to speak with Valve, because in the past they're sort of stated, methodology for online games was, release early and often, meaning get the game out and then iterate on it based on player input. And this time it's like clearly they've got another philosophy, because it's like they keep pushing and pushing the game, and all of us are like eager to play it. And every time we play it, we're like, wow, like they could release this early, and yes, they would have a few bugs to iron out for the often part, but like that would be
Well, it sounds like
fine.
I saw an interview with Doug Lombardi from this event where he was saying, I can't remember where it was, but he was saying specifically like they did kind of flip around the let's get it out there in front of a ton of people and let them play it to death before we release it. And it probably has to do with the console.
Yeah.
I would imagine that
I don't know
changes
though.
things.
Every time they show it, I've never seen it shown on a console
That's
yet.
the thing, though. Maybe they want to release them simultaneously, and
And
the
they wanna
console
make
one's
sure
way
that-
far behind.
Right.
Yeah, maybe they want to make sure, because they can't necessarily make the changes as easily on a 360 as they can with like Steam updates. Maybe it's just the process is just more convoluted or something.
There's a lot of like visual refinement that they've been putting into it. I mean, the same level that they had there was the very first level I saw like long ago, and the difference between it now and then is pretty striking. Just lighting things and level of detail in the environments and adding things.
I know they've shown the infected gameplay before, but I have
I
I
played
have never
the infected
seen
stuff
it yet.
like
'Cause this
half
wasn't
a
at the
year
event.
ago, but it was missing like props. Some of the characters were missing like first person animation and stuff. So
Right.
like if you were a hunter and you lunged on someone, they didn't have it in where you see your hands in front of you as you jump and attack someone down. I also think it was wise though, if you're going to show that side of the game, you shouldn't do it. And this is also
In that
leading
environment.
up to Anthony's part of the showcase, but you don't show that kind of gameplay at a big press event like that, where it's just an entire zoo and everyone's packed in. Because from the human side, you could sit down immediately and everyone understands. I got a gun, I point it at a zombie, and I shoot it. But if you're going to be a zombie, an infected class that you have to hide in the shadows, and you wait for your one moment that might happen, like maybe once in every like 4 or 5 minutes, and then you like lash someone with your tongue and you hang them, so that another teammate who you're clearly not coordinating with in the way you ought to be, because it's just someone you don't know sitting at a terminal next to you, he's not going to be a hunter and then pounce on the guy as you're hanging him with your tongue or whatever like that. So it's just that's going to be something that they're going to. It's just best shown on a one-to-one basis, where you can have some time to adjust to it and get used to it. And they've said that, like, clearly playing the infected side is going to be like an art that is going to take a little more work for people than just jumping in and shooting with the other guys.
So
Was that his cue?
And then
That
the
was-
cue
yeah,
for
that
the
was
cue for that was How was previewing an MMO in that press event environment?
It was pretty terrible. I mean, it was because like the whole thing about Warhammer Online is they keep touting that thing that comes from Dark Ages Camelot, which is realm versus realm combat and the ability to like dramatically alter the landscape and actually permanently take land from the other side, culminating in like they really kept talking it up, like you're going to be able to take out an enemy capital city and like kill their king and literally put his head on a stake in front of the city and stuff like that.
And they've been talking about this for years.
They've been talking about it for forever. Yeah, that's
the
the thing, and no one has ever seen it. Like they've shown PvP, but they didn't show it changing anything. And this time, all they had set up was like they had a level 1 elf character for me to run around, and all I was doing was like no one was really there, so I just walked up and started like, all right, right click to attack.
You saw some exclamation points.
Mash
and took some
2.
quests.
Did you collect
to use
any
my power.
apples?
No, I killed 10 harpies for some elf on a horse. So
Those harpies, man, you kill them in one game, they fucking show up in another. It's like a plague.
The difference between the harpies and this one, though, is like the harpies in Warhammer got like big old boobies
They got
that are
much bigger
showing.
breasts.
I like to
Yeah.
kill harpies in God of War because it feels real visceral. You get to rip their heads off.
Yeah, there's nothing like this.
Wings, too.
This one, I swing at them and the number like 21 appears or something like that, But
They
it was
eventually
like
fall to the ground.
I didn't even get to create my own character, which is like something that like is always like a big pleasure. Of any MMO.
They should have just had video for that.
It's impossible. Those things. How many months ago did we go see Warhammer? Maybe 6 or so for GFW.
Like, even
three
showing-
of us went to play it for about 5 hours. And we still probably could have said what you just said. That's about it.
That's
We did a
the
bunch
thing.
of quests
That's the
in
thing,
MMO
like-
style, and then they threw us into like level 20 or 30 characters for some PvP. Then of course you got a new hotbar with a whole bunch of crap you don't know what it does, and you're not going to learn because in 10 more minutes you got to move on to the next thing. And the PvP for that wasn't the realm versus realm either. It was capture
just
the
PvP.
flag.
Yeah, exactly.
This would be like if they want us to preview Lord of the Rings Part 2, written by the guy's great-grandson, or someone who alleges to be Tolkien's great-great-grandson. And then you start on page 345 and you read through page like 362, and then you put it down. There's techno music playing while you do it.
I told him that's what I told him. I was like, if you really want people to like understand your game, you really need to have like an awesome public beta where people actually get to see firsthand like how they shape the world and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because
Vertical
otherwise-
slices suck. They suck the most for MMOs.
why play that? Like,
Right. It was a tough venue for any demo, but for something like that in particular, yeah, they could have just had a video loop running instead, maybe.
I mean, I'm level 14 or 15 in Age of Conan, and I still don't feel like I have a good handle on it yet. It's just weird.
I mean, that's one of the things that's sort of surprising that MMOs are even done. It's like a class of game that can't even be explained. You know what I mean? It's like, tell me about this game, World of Warcraft.
It can be
3 minutes.
It can explain on a basic level, but then the differences are so subtle often that you can't explain how this one is different from the other one.
For me, I can even see for me, it will register, maybe not how it's different from World of Warcraft, but other MMOs, like the difference between Tabula Rasa, from the difference between that and Guild Wars and Auto Assault and stuff.
It's got guns.
But the problem is when you explain it that way, what you can't communicate is why it would be fun to anyone playing it. I mean, because if you do break down if you break down like 10 minutes or half an hour of play from any MMO, there's no fun to be had in it. So the reasons that people play MMOs occur like somewhere between those or across bigger periods, and part of it is with playing with their friends and all these things.
It's a giant,
And a big
when you
part
just
of
say
it's setting.
you kill shit to get high, I mean, all MMOs have the same thing,
There's a huge factor of ownership too that just isn't lost in the demo, where you're just like you said, you were tossed a character as like, here's an elf. You're like,
I would never
whatever.
have played an elf to begin with.
Yeah,
Right,
like,
there you go.
I am insulted. I am not an elf.
Yeah.
Imagine, Robert, like you
should have had a diva fit like that at the I won't be an elf.
I demand a warrior.
Yeah. Do you know who I am?
A dwarf.
I'm a game critic.
Imagine if you took like God of War or something you liked, and you decided you were going to stretch it out to play for about like 400 hours, and you're going to massively water down the combat and all the interactive stuff like that, and you're going to make it obviously massively repetitive and all these things, but then what you were getting out of it is persistence and community, being able to play with other people and socialize with them, and then also the sense that like you're building towards something and that you're acquiring things as you play. I mean, I'd rather just take the isolation and the better combat and the 6 hour.
That's the other
time.
thing is
Yeah, I just don't like people.
none of these like MMO demos like that show you like the community that'll build up around it, or I don't know the way that grouping works. Like I had no idea.
Dude, the fingerless gloves showed you all you need to know about the community.
That guy was playing Battlefield,
Yeah.
not the MMO.
Yeah,
That's
so
your
there you
community,
how about
Sean.
them
Yeah.
apples?
Even we went to Blizzard last week, and we played Wrath of the Lich King for about 5 hours. Here's a game I know inside and out, and they're showing the second expansion for, and the things I wanted to learn about it, we just couldn't do. Like I wanted to go into a dungeon and see like what they learned, like how to make new boss encounters. Like, obviously, this is like to me like a huge area where they're just learning and changing, and it's exciting, and I can't wait to see what they do next. But we couldn't do it.
This is exactly right. Right.
It's just impossible, even in the.
And even like
4
playing
hour
the
video.
character class that my main character is a warlock, playing in the Lich King. Well, it wasn't my warlock, and they had the 70 to 80 skills weren't even in there, right? So I didn't know what new I was going to get. So even a game like WoW that's been around for years, that like you're saying, a lot of us know inside out. When there's a new one to demo, you still can't get what the experience is.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised they don't do like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory thing and get you guys like your actual characters and bring you in.
See,
with
that
new
would be
players. And they're like,
awesome.
Wrath of the Lich King, and everyone's like, yeah.
And then you get to keep.
And I can't really
You get to keep whatever you
Yeah.
collect.
And you would, and then you would
Smiles
understand
are
it.
lighting
You would
up.
feel like
Well,
I'm in the game.
Yeah, imagine an MMO where
Yeah.
you don't get to keep this stuff. You don't even get to keep the experience points toward your character, and that's all that matters for some people.
It's
in
like
those games.
communism,
in addition to the
the
MMO.
camaraderie. And
So yeah, I won't be
Right.
able
You
to
work on
get
a
this
collective
until-
farm,
It's just good.
collective pelt farm.
That'll be right if you get angry.
We will sell all our pelts, brother.
That'll be a good skit. Like you have Anthony or something playing that down at EA, and then he's just all pissed off and like accusing the guy when he won't like give him the character at the end of the day of like having used him to like fucking to get like 16 gold and like 400 XP.
I'm no gold farmer.
So
Look at mine, bitch.
Like for a while, I'll get it when they open up the public test round when they let you transfer your character over, and then you can play around with it. But until
Right.
then,
Well,
and
like
even
we were
that's
saying
days
on
of learning,
right. Well, we were saying on Legendary Thread, yesterday we were talking about Age of Conan, and Sean and I were making some critical remarks, and he's further along in the game than I am, and but we did go out of our way to make the point of like, you're what level
14.
14?
I think.
Okay. Like imagine reviewing World of Warcraft if you were level 14. I mean, the game is completely different.
Right.
Then I mean that's not, you're not even really playing the game yet.
And that's just MMOs. Me and Sean were talking about this earlier this week about like, like when Warhawk got reviewed, even here it was like a 2-day thing from like 3 to 4:30. They did like 2 1.5 hour like sessions, and they were like, there you go, that's your Warhawk review time.
That's your review.
Like we were saying, like even with Sean always brings up Company Heroes example, but it's such a good example because it's like, imagine if Sean had to review that before the game came out, got to play like 2 games against the developers, and was like, all right, that's multiplayer.
That's why everyone
Yeah.
in the reviews understandably just talked about campaign, which we're always like, campaign comes and goes in like a day and a half if you're even playing it, and then the rest is there. But it would take it would, for both ways, not just for like, I'm gonna look at Robert because I'm feeling guilty. It would take time to review certain games like that.
Why do you feel guilty?
No, but because from a consumer report or a review thing versus criticism, from that standpoint, the answer would be yes. You do a better job by spending more time with it because you would see that it's more valuable to you that way. Likewise, if you're performing a critique of any quality, you'd benefit from it as well because you're just able to like look at it in more depth and just have had time to think about it and what it all means. And yeah, it's just
So why even bother to review multiplayer games until like a month after they come out?
Well, the thing,
Good question.
because they get us clicks and they sell magazines.
Oh,
It's the same
shit.
reason
I mean,
that
but the thing
And
is, like,
box quotes.
what about the ones that have a
Best game
single
ever
player
cut
and
made
a
by human
multiplayer?
hands.
Do you
Yeah.
review them separately, or do you just like hold back on the review, or do you change the score later on? I don't know.
Oh yeah, this is a constant struggle. Like
Yeah, we talk
back to
about this all the
MMOs. Like the Warcraft I'm playing now is nothing like the Warcraft I reviewed. Like I gave Burning Crusade whatever I gave it, and
You gave
It's
it
a-
a
I
10.
absolutely
I gave it a
think
10,
that
yeah.
MMOs
And
could
it's
be.
just
Now it's 11.
totally different game.
Yeah, now I do think we should be re-reviewing MMOs regularly and giving them new scores, based
Especially
on how
if
they
it
play.
was like totally
Now.
fucked when
Maybe
we
they don't
reviewed
even
it.
need
in an
scores,
RTS
Maybe they just have your changing
There should be.
impressions. They should just play up front. Like, this is the extent. This is the limitations of my experience with this game. And then
Instead
later
of-
on, you can post something
Which is
else.
why you run into the consumer report style thing for these things. So because that's what you can quantify.
This kind of ties into what we were talking about these
Robert
events
wants
too.
to talk.
So with games like that, given anytime you have like a blind spot from a reviewer, anytime a reviewer has a blind spot, they tend to go back to the press release. So it's like, if you really don't know what to say about this, you go to the press release and it points out very conveniently for you all the things you should talk about. And it's infuriating to be a person who sees these things and knows what's in them, and then to go online and to see the same structure reproduced everywhere else. And so right before this week, we were, as this week started, we had to like rush home and write previews, like that Battlefield thing. I had to do it that night before I went to bed. Got home at like 9. I was like, you can't sleep until you turn this in. And I was complaining about it. I was like, do they know, the people who organize these events, that if they gave us like a week or even a couple days, that they would have better stories emerge from them? Because not only would we have more time to write about them, we'd have more time to think about them. And Robert, you were like, well, they don't want you thinking about them, and they know that the more hard-pressed you are to get this thing in quick, the easier it's going to be for you to just like regurgitate whatever you heard during the presentation and whatever you have on your handy. Like, please,
because those presentations
This is, in fact, the most immersive 3D experience I've ever had.
But they're always
The press release is right. What the fuck? It's 2 a.m.
They're always careful to
Send.
give you, like a structure when you go see a game.
Yep.
They want to give you something really digestible, and that makes sense to me. I mean, if you're going to go look at a game that's really complicated and big, you're going to have to be given some sort of like structural sense of what they're trying to do, and you're probably going to go back and
The
report on
vertical
that.
slice, right?
But if you have more time to think about it and more time to play it, then yeah, you can go off the rails, and I'm sure they're not so into that.
I have talked to PR people whose job it is to write these press releases, and you think like, why do these even exist? Who reads these? But I've talked to PR people who will say like, oh yeah, I've seen my exact sentences show up in previews or even reviews, and like for them that's like a huge victory.
There was the infamous time in PSE 2 magazine.
That's true, yep.
Where I found 600 words directly pasted from the press release in their cover story for the game.
That's the Control-C, Control-V school of game
journalism.
Yeah,
like
At Carnegie Mellon.
4 keystrokes to a fast article.
because games like RTSs and MMOs are difficult, like to review for these reasons. I also noticed that like when you have a review of an RTS on a console, they're almost entirely dedicated to talking about how, look, they managed to do it. They got this RTS controls to work on the thing, and it's like, because that's an easy thing to do when you're not capable of engaging all the other stuff about the RTS. And then if you look on the PC platform for like notoriously complex, 4X games, I think you'll see a lot of the same stuff, like a lot of talking about the spreadsheets and stuff. And I'm getting this from Rory, who's reviewing the latest Gal Civ 2 expansion now, and he was talking about it and was like, look, I don't want to write about the spreadsheets and stuff. And it was cool like hearing him come up with his angle and his his sort of like idea plot for his thing. But
I mean, that's a problem with everything. It's not, I mean, we're always like beating up on ourselves and on the enthusiast press here, but like all press always
fun.
has these same narratives for everything. It's like every time you read a story about a console RTS, it's does it actually work on the console narrative. Every time you read a story about games in the newspaper, it's like, boy, these games sure do make a lot of money, and every time,
and they're maturing.
But I mean, but
don't
even
forget
beyond
about-
games, like they talk about
it's
the
not
same
just
stuff over and over and over.
You're right.
Yeah.
Another
Everywhere.
narrative is like for any Wii game is like, does it use the Wii controls in like in a unique fashion?
Well-
And that's like a guaranteed like A+ for a lot of stuff.
Well, the thing is that a lot of times, like, it's been my experience that's like what, like, editorial people will tell you what to write about because they think that that's what people really want to know. Like, when people click on a preview about a Wii game as opposed to like the 360 version, the only thing they care about is hearing about how the motion controls work, because that's what they all bought the Wii for. So like the same thing with an RTS on console is, does it work on this console? Tell us about how the interface works, because that's what people want to know, because it doesn't belong on a console. So I just think that it's just that.
And there's something to be said for that. I mean, clearly you don't want to play an RTS on a console if it doesn't work. But then when you go beyond there, you're like, okay, so I have something that works.
But is it
like,
good?
is that all I need to know? And then I think also like, so Rory's case, like what he was saying is that as he was building all this content for the game, he's like, look, I when I look back at all my favorite 4X games, they're always, the most important thing for me is always the story I end up telling through the action, not only through his actions, but through the campaigns he creates and the levels, the enemies that you make and all this stuff. And then looking at like, well, what kind of stories am I telling? And then going from there. And then once you think through this, then finding what he wants to write about. And it's like, hey, a lot of people don't really give a shit, but if you do it, if you execute on this properly, what I told him might happen. I was like, what you do is you articulate the way things are as you understand them after, thinking through them. And if you're lucky, what's going to happen is other people are going to say, oh, that's totally the case for me as well, but I've never thought about that. And then they'll start to think about the game in a different way. And that's like so much more valuable and enjoyable in the long. I mean, of course, it's not an either or. You could do both. And you can actually do both in one review, right? Mm-hmm. But
well, it makes total sense.
It takes like, you just have to be like confident in yourself sometimes, I'm going to show, I know what people want to hear about. I'm going to give them that, but I'm also going to show them what I think they would be interested in hearing about as well, but they're not even aware of yet.
And you're going to tap dance at the same time.
No.
Why not?
My silence is I was trying to come up with a joke because I was playing Smarty Pants for Wii, and it makes you dance for like bonus points.
What is Smarty Pants?
It's like a game show game,
casual,
but I couldn't
trivia
think
game.
of one. Couldn't think of a joke. Although there is a tug of war thing when like you to decide who gets to answer the next question, and you're supposed to like yank it. So I was playing with Melissa last night, and I was like, it's like tug of war, and then on screen it was like showing this motion. I looked at Melissa, I'm like, you lose, and I was like,
dude, that's just like that's just like a Ray bought this capsule toy from Japan. I gotta interrupt you, sorry.
No.
And all it is, it's this little thing with 2 buttons and a counter, and it counts how many times you can press a button within 10 seconds. And all of us were...
Why?
I don't know, man. Japanese people are crazy. So he bought it, and Ray can do like 102 within 10 seconds. I can do 70. That's the best I can do. And like Alice came by, and she was like, God, all you guys look so ridiculous when you're doing that. And I was like, this is our private faces.
Do you have that here? Do you have that in the office? I'm going to try that because I have the most amazing track and field skills. I got this like vibrating kind of
That's the way you
method.
have to do it. Yeah,
it's like a...
Yeah, well,
I used to kill it.
The world record's like 122.
That's the worst.
Anyone with the popsicle stick could have fucked you up.
I agree with you.
With track and field, someone with a popsicle stick.
Wait, what do you mean? What?
Because track and field, you had to alternate between 2 buttons. So you wouldn't just mash one button. You'd have to go between them. So you'd put a popsicle stick across them and use your finger as a fulcrum in the middle, right? And then you would do what you were saying on one side, and it would automatically alternate on the other side. No, everyone would bring... Dude, when track and field was the shit, everyone had it like a comb in their back pocket, a popsicle stick. Like the ice cream man would be coming by, like... Going to the store and just like put that out.
I love that game. I mean, I realize that it's like
javelins,
pathetic,
always hated
all
that
kinds
game.
of shit.
But
and dude, pro wrestling for Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh my god,
that was, you basically had it. You got what you're talking about is a pro wrestling NES simulator, man. Just pretend it's like the equivalent of like what Magic is to BattleForge. You're like, grab. Just pretend there's like, pile drivers and shit happening when you're doing that. Maybe they are.
Jeff looks disillusioned.
I was just thinking about like how much this country's gone to hell. I was thinking about Sean and all his friends with the popsicle sticks, back there with track and field. Like if they'd just been like applying that ingenuity in science class, maybe this country wouldn't be.
They went on to learn to cook meth.
Well, you use all that ingenuity to like try to rip stuff off. Like I was saying, like the whole thing. No, like the kid. I think I said it.
Great.
I said it was
it's
Ryan.
The American way.
I said it was Ryan, but it wasn't really where like. Well, no, it started where like you take and you drill a hole in a quarter and you tie a fishing line through that. You go to the arcade and then you try to trip the coin slot as many times. They find a way. They counter engineer against that. You take the clear tape and you.
I see what you're saying.
You make
it's fostering ingenuity of different types.
A long lead on a $1 bill. You stick that in the Coke machine and then hit coin return and pull it back out and continue to do that until you're rich in quarters.
So you're basically product testing.
Yeah, you're helping them. No, but that's where the ingenuity would go.
This is leading to a clean burning fuel.
Because a long ass time ago, he told a story about you shoving $1 down the machine.
Yeah,
and pulling
you
it
weren't
out.
here.
Did you do that?
One time we did though. We made hot air balloons with. If you go to like a dry cleaners and you get like a big dry cleaner bag, and then you take that and we made like with a bunch of straws and made like a little holder down in the bottom, and then you cut a can. And you set that on top of the cross of straws, and then you put sterno in it, and you light the sterno. Sterno is like a liquid.
Jellied
like
kerosene.
Jellied kerosene, yeah, fuel. And so you light that, and then, of course, it fills the bag with hot air, and you just let it go. But this is in Southern California, and you're like, well, when that bag tips, that burning fucking napalm just starts falling out of the combustible bag all over.
Oh, God.
But, yeah, we do that kind of thing.
That is some
disturbing.
great use of time.
We used to do things with sterno too, like because that shit burns, but it doesn't burn like the stuff it's on. So we used to like rub it all over our hand and light our hand on fire because it'll just burn.
That's
off your
not
hand.
so much ingenuity as fucking head.
Some Darwinism
you know
there.
what?
That's Judas Priest right there, man.
The greatest television show of all time is Beavis and Butthead. Because it's just fucking true. Like that was the best
sounds like
depiction
these
of
two
teen-
guys.
teenage-
Beavis and Butthead never did.
male
My shit was
life.
fucking Mr. Wizard, man. Don't insult me like that.
No, come on.
This was fairly
Everyone
Beavis and
knew
Butthead. like
Beavis and
this,
Butthead.
Yeah.
All right.
You might not have been just like Beavis and Butthead, but you were hanging out with them at least.
I
There
think
was
I
a lot
spent too
of
much
that,
time
yeah.
in the marching band room after hours because I didn't do these kind of things.
I was in marching band too.
You were?
But this
What'd
was
you play?
It was on a marching band trip when we were doing the shit with the sterno in our hotel room.
I
I was
used to
just playing
program
video
text
games.
adventures with my Commodore 64.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, there was some Beavis and Butthead. Now I copped to it. One time at the high school PE, they had like this DECA thing, which is I forget what that stands for. It's an acronym for kids who want to go on and be like business people when they grow up, and they sell like
Assholes.
Snickers and Cheez-Its and shit. And we went there after hours with like a glass cutter, thinking that we were gonna like do some Mission Impossible shit and cut like a hole in the window and then grab all the Snickers. and like just barely scratch the window, and then the custodian comes by and he's like, "Hey, I know you! I fucking know you!" And we start running.
Jeff's gonna go home and like put a science book in his daughter's hands.
Yeah,
Fucking
please read.
This will be the episode to get the old stories out, since it's been a while. And so I stopped telling them because a lot of people said they hate them online, but then I see a bunch of other people wanted to hear them. So along with this is truly Beavis and Butthead. At one point in my apartment complex, in one of the many apartment complexes I lived in as a kid, someone left their mail key in their mailbox. So I was like, shit, there's a mailbox key, and I took it. And then over the week, this was actually, I need to give it the grade. This is third grade, so you don't think I'm this much of a shithead. So I would go over the week and take it and look for stuff. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's going to be a package with some Transformers in it or something. There weren't. So
maybe a Playboy.
what I
know.
did, so then I just was like, shit. I took and I put a note in there, said, if you want this mailbox key back, you got to leave $5 under the doormat of apartment, like whatever. And it was like a vacant apartment in the thing. And then meanwhile, that same week, they got a bunch of like return checks, that had already been cashed, but you just get them back. They don't do that anymore, but sometime in the 80s they would send you an envelope with all your
they
checks.
store them on site now.
So I took those around the school, and that's the very same day I'm at my elementary school giving those out to kids like their money. I'm like, it's checks, man. You know what a check is? It's what your mom, when you want that G.I. Joe figure, and your mom says you don't have any money, it's what you pay us for it with. You can write a check, can't you, Mom? And then, so I was giving these out, and then I get called later in the day to the principal's office, and I go in there, and there's my parents are in there, and then the principal, and then some other person I didn't know. And that person introduced himself as the postmaster general of the district, and they hold up my ransom letter, my extortion letter, and they're like, Sean,
man.
do you know anything about this? And it's it totally worked. I was like, I know what I'm going to do. So I just start crying. I'm like, I'm sorry, I did it. And then they're like, okay, we're glad that it was really brave of you to just admit that you did this. I was like, admit what? You're fucking holding my letter out in front of me. Oh, some other kid in the apartment. So you just happened to have the same handwriting.
You thought they were going to bring out the forensics experts and analyze your...
Prove it, bitch.
So yeah, I'm surprised I got off with just an ass whooping on that one, and because it happened off of school, so I couldn't get detention or anything. But I did spend I spent most of that year like having my lunches and all my recesses in the principal's office because I did something or the other.
Yeah.
Fuck something up.
That's just really hard to imagine somehow.
I don't even know what we'd get in, from fights and stuff. Sometimes it would just be something dumb. You'd be mad, and I didn't understand why I'd be in trouble. Like, one thing, anytime someone would have to take a shit, you would run, you'd be like, dude, someone's taking shit. Like, there's only one course of action. It's to run on the playground and scream so everyone knows. And you all run in, and you go to the stalls next to it, and you get the toilet paper, and then you get it wet in the sink, and you stand up on the adjacent stalls and urinals, and you throw them down on the person taking a shit.
Where the hell did you live?
Seriously. fucking Lord of the Flies.
The whole bathroom roof was covered with like stalactites of wet toilet paper from us just going in there. And then, of course, every day it was just a ritual. You finish your school lunch, and you take your milk carton, and you know how you could rip them open in the top so it would just be like a perfectly open square?
Yeah, I know that.
And you just mix the corn that you didn't eat with whatever's left of the chocolate milk and the water, and you put that on the big giant like hydraulic hinge coming in the bathroom because they had an entry door and an exit door. And then you just sit in there and wait for someone to come in.
But now I'm never going to the bathroom here again.
No, kids wouldn't. You know not to go to the bathroom in schools because this was going to happen to you. Indeed, there was one time when in high school, it fucking carried all the way to high school. There's no doors on the shitters, so you really didn't want to have to deuce at school. So it's like maybe like doing a deuce in the Ziff Davis offices. but I'm sitting there, and there was like a special ed kid taking a dump, and then dude, what's his last name?
Don't say his last name.
No, the bully. Paul Grabansky is in the mirror combing his hair back. This is. I swear to God, this sounds like it's fiction. It's not. He's fucking combing his hair, and then he's looking in the mirror, and he turns around. What do we have here? Oh, God. He's like, and then the guy's, imagine you're right behind him taking a shit, and this guy's combing, and he's like, what do we have? And then he goes, he gets down, I'm like, kind of like on my haunches with my hands on my knees, and he's like, special ed taking a fucking shit.
Oh,
take a fat shit for me, special ed. And he's like, doing the hang loose.
Sounds like a horrible teen movie.
Doing the hang loose sign in the guy's face because he was a surfer or something. And then he just leaves. He just walks out.
What a tough guy.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, schools are institutions not unlike prison, and people act
seriously,
like that.
these are like prison stories.
You're glad your daughter's going to a private school.
I am.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to say, he's probably listening. I got a message from a kid who goes to the private school that my daughter's going to start at next year. She's about to start high school, and so she got into school. And anyway, this guy figured out somehow, because I said her first name, and he knows I live in the Bay Area. He looked at the roster of incoming freshmen for this coming September, and he said, hey, I'm just looking at the roster for incoming freshmen at this school I go to, and I see someone named Sarah Green. Is that your daughter? Yeah, so I said,
oh, great. Now your daughter has a stalker.
He's probably listening now, so if you are listening, I'm thinking about 10, 15 feet, restraining order, buddy.
Dude, I thought you were quoting Sawyer from Lost for a minute.
What? Oh,
the whole, you saw it last week. It was the week before, or last week's, one of them.
With Claire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next thing, she's going to end up in Jacob's cabin.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
That's not nice. Anyway.
You always spoil Lost. What are you talking about?
Yeah, don't...
He's not worried about spoiling Lost. He's worried about
my kid.
Worried about
Stay away from my daughter.
Spoiling daughter.
Actually, the only thing...
How bad do you feel right now, man?
The only thing
you see the world and spoil Lost. Do not spoil Lost.
I was only thinking, really, I didn't care about that part. Really, I trust the kid.
Yeah.
Well, not really, but I'm figuring that's fine. I actually was just thinking, like, I hope he doesn't tell my kid how much I swear on this podcast all the time. That's the first thing.
Well, now you're just telling
that's a
him.
Secret? Like, can't she just like go online and download it?
Well, she could, but she doesn't.
She, though? That's the last thing.
But that ain't cool.
Right.
So you're not a swearer at home.
No, not really, except for the inadvertent fight or whatever. Or actually, the last time was just last night with Lost Winds, because I kept blowing some junk. Some jump. So I yelled "fuck" at the screen at one point. I just hear "Dad" from upstairs.
It's okay to swear. It won't cause her to swear, because I remember my mom cusses like a sailor, and grew up with her just cussing like crazy. I don't think that I said a swear word in front of her until I was 25.
I still don't say a swear word in front of my mom.
I mean, I try not to, but I mean, I don't know. For someone who grew up with a mom who would, drop F-bombs left and right, it wasn't a big deal for me to say. I was just always afraid. It's like you grew up with someone cussing, and there's this thing oh, you're not supposed to do that. That's okay for...
Right, my mom smoked, and she'd always be like, do not smoke.
With smoke rings coming out of her mouth.
Do exactly. Do not do this.
When I was at Robert's for Thanksgiving last time, his mother-in-law was there, and I kept trying to... You were unflappable. I kept trying to set him up, and I'd just be like, so Robert, are you still addicted to online gambling and stuff? So the whole time, I would just keep doing shit like that, and Robert would just go along with it yeah, man, I can't stop.
Well,
but for
But we always fuck with her anyway. Like Sarah's mom is like super gullible, and we'll just go with like anything you tell her. So you didn't know. It was like she wasn't sitting there like, oh, does he online gamble? She was probably thinking, oh, maybe I should play some poker.
You better hope she doesn't listen to this.
We're always like telling her like, bullshit stories, and she doesn't get that we're joking at first. So, yeah.
That's good. It was fun. It could allow us to keep going without feeling guilty. So about your daughter listening, Jeff, your daughter listening to the show, it's like if your dad was an Albar Shriner and he rode around parades in a bumper car with the fez on, would you go to the parades to watch it?
Of course I wouldn't.
Yeah, dude.
But now your daughter's gonna have some dude there at the school that she goes to that's gonna be like, I love games for Windows Radio.
He's gonna go up to her and going, you're not the Lord of the Rings. What a nerd. Does he say that at home too? Actually, I was playing one other thing. I was playing GTA 4 the other night on the 360, and I got you got a message from some name I didn't recognize, but I guess I approved him as a friend a while ago, and I opened up the message, and the message was, be my dad, which I really loved.
Wow.
It's funny how there's such
Can we talk about the PM that we got, Sean?
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
You don't feel comfortable?
What?
I won't.
I don't care.
Names.
I'm more worried about the guy.
No,
Well,
I want to hear it.
As good as, maybe even better than Be My Dad. I opened my PM box on OneUp, and I wanted to say, people, I don't always respond, but I always read everything that people send me. And this one was like, hey, you're really cute, and like there's just very few gay people in the industry and stuff. And it's like, here's my AIM name, and like just hit me up on this thing sometime. And he talked about someone else in the industry who he dated, and so I'm not naming anyone's names. And I was like, dude, I think you might mean the other Sean or something. And then he was like, oh shit. He's like, yeah. As soon as I hit send, I realized what I had done. I'm like, it's all good. But that's like,
he never followed up.
That's up there with.
Because he didn't think you're as cute, Sean.
Apparently.
I know. That was like, yeah, I'm like, Burn, what? I'm not cute? I feel all good about myself, man.
No, he liked you.
Fucking tore me down.
He just got
he wasn't talking about me.
Oh, was he? Because maybe he thought you were the gay one.
No, he knew who he knew.
Oh, he knew.
It was a total mistake, like when he put the because it's GFW Sean, so you can imagine you just type that in real quick.
So he was like, oh shit, Sean Elliott?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a goon.
And
oh, well.
I don't know why I said that. I didn't out anyone. No, I didn't say his name.
But now people know that there's somebody out there.
Not that he would care anyway. It's an honest mistake,
Right.
But I mean,
yeah,
never got the follow up.
We'd all do that, Sean.
Maybe he was embarrassed and wouldn't write you after Sean fucked up your chance.
The be my dad thing is good though. I like that because have I ever done that, Anthony? Like I just randomly ask people like in Van or something like, do you ever wish you could be your dad? When you're talking about, it doesn't matter. You're talking about the most random, like inappropriate thing, and you're like, dude, do you wish that guy could be your dad? Or like,
I have no idea what you're talking
this podcast.
Or
oh wow,
I'm sorry. Or like, I've also like if we're driving by the street and there's just some guy walking by, you roll down the window and you're like, I love you, Dad.
I took it away as like this old dude's playing this game. My dad would never do that.
Yeah,
be my dad.
Yeah, I know.
Add a DY to the end of that, and it changes the context.
Well, that's a whole different thing. I did write back. I just said, LOL, that's kind of creepy. No. And he said, I'll pay you.
I'm exactly sure.
creepier.
I'm sure that's exactly how he meant it, though.
Yeah.
Like he just looks at you. It's like,
yeah.
Right. And then the very next night, I got one that said I was also playing GTA, and I got one that said, "I love Jeff in a non-sexual way." So, they're nice.
There's
but I do not. I've railed on this before. I don't like the messaging coming up in the middle of games on Xbox Live.
It does
it's really annoying.
I've seen that one up profile that the name is. I sent you a link, Jeff. It was like the profile name from one up user. I slept with Jeff Green. That is the profile's name.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. They just have Jeff's picture.
I keep wanting to know who that is. Like, did I? Are you cute?
You're not part of this person's identity.
Right.
You've kind of got the market cornered and being like one of the only people
Senior.
like writing about
Yep.
games as having like a family and being a grown up and writing about the ridiculousness of being like super into games and simultaneously supposedly being a responsible person. and
That's
stuff.
my niche.
So no, but it's cool. I mean, like as I get older, like I want to read stuff like that, not about the teenage.
Well, the thing
exploits
is,
of an anime fan.
the thing is,
I'll read about that.
Yeah,
the thing is, we're all going to be. I'm just a little bit ahead of you guys.
yeah, no,
But that's what I'm hoping I'm alive when that happens. When the world is just full of people who are gaming their whole life and their kids are gaming, and it'll be a beautiful thing to see. And please, God, let me live for that day. I'm really waiting for it. We need all those other people
we're
to die
halfway
off.
there when we're
We need
talking
them to
about
die.
popsicle sticks and track and
Yeah.
field. I mean, there's like
Right.
a large portion of our audience who has no idea what the
Don't
hell
you
we're
think it's
talking
going to be
about.
it's going to be such a better world when there's no fucking dillweed on TV or running for office? It's going these video games. It's like the same thing with TV now. There's going to be a day when none of those fuckers are going to be alive anymore, and I can't wait for it. Die, all of you old people, die.
or when
They're
it's not
saying
going to
that
be.
about us though, for people who hate on anime and like who people who
Okay.
listen to music that
That's
isn't a
true.
soundtrack
Yep.
for like
That's true.
every
Our day will
generation's RPG.
Our day will come. I know
Every
there will be a
doesn't
day when
have
I'm no longer
Asperger's and
wanted.
isn't a furry. So-
What
There
I'm
will be
ready
a day
for,
when I'm not wanted anymore, and I'll probably be ready to go.
what I'm ready for.
I'll be
is-
ready to sail off to the
me
gray
away.
to the
Take me
gray
away,
haven.
Gandalf.
Yes.
What I'm ready for is the day when it's no longer cool to pretend that you don't like games or to be like a totally ignorant of games. Like I hate that every
Yeah.
time I read some like young hip thing saying, oh, I don't play video games. Like I always read Pitchfork Media's like list review with bands.
Yeah.
And I always immediately just go down to where they ask them what game they're playing because I want to see what they say. 90% of the time they're like, either they're like, I like Pac-Man, or they're like, I don't play games.
I don't have time
people
for
still
that.
Shut the
say,
fuck
you know,
up, man. Like what
don't watch
a
television.
That was the
retard
problem
you look like when you say
EGM
that.
had
Like,
the series of celebrity interviews because
Yeah.
it would always be like, oh yeah, I played Pac-Man when I was a kid, or it'd be like, I play GTA and I don't play the missions. I just like to drive around and run into stuff.
yeah.
I did read
Every time that would be the extent.
last
of
week's
the celebrity
Entertainment Weekly
interview.
had a 2-page profile of Josh Groban. You know who that guy is?
No.
Yeah.
Josh Groban.
He's gone on and on about his Amazon reviews before.
It's a concert pianist.
Yeah, I've read his
and, like, a
Amazon.
singer.
If you ever really want a good time, go to Amazon.com and read reviews of Josh Groban's stuff. Haven't I talked about this on the podcast
Yes.
before?
Yes.
The Grobanites, right? so he's you just want to hate him without ever having heard his music, and then when you hear it, then you really hate him. But because he's like in his 20s and he's like this baritone, like he sings this like pop opera crap, whatever. Anyway, he's
Popra.
just. And the first sign that he was cool was when he showed up on that the I fucked Matt Damon thing, or it was a sequel. The I fucked what was it? What was
I'm
the
fucking Matt Damon.
Ben
fucking
Affleck.
Matt the what?
Ben Affleck.
The other one, yeah, that one. Anyway, so in the new Entertainment Weekly, there's a 2-page profile of him, and he goes on and on about GTA
Well,
Oh,
it's,
that's-
it's like a
in a non-lame way. Like you can tell
Yeah.
he's really playing it.
it's like a Vin Diesel when all my friends found out that he he was on like the Conan O'Brien show talking about how he's like a huge D&D player.
He's
has
a big
always
geek.
been.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why he like worked on that Chronicles of Riddick game.
That's
Is
right.
super important to him because he loves playing video games
Yep.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like people latch on to famous people like that who don't just blow it off.
Vin
It's
Diesel was a
sad
great
that-
one to have on our side too, because he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's not a he's not a nerdy.
Yeah.
I've wanted to interview Robin Williams, like say what you want about his comedy and performance and stuff, but just as a gamer for the longest time. And I actually did, like I was trying to, this would be like my score, like I was trying to get it for, when we were at GFW, because he's like, he was always at the E3 Spore things. I heard that he plays Battlefield. He named one of his kids after The Legend of Zelda. And it's like,
Did he really?
That's the name, Legend of Zelda.
no.
It's a Triforce of wisdom.
LOZ, get in here.
I mean, it's Zelda. But I mean, like the people like that are like actually, I mean, you don't talk to them about like, what's it like
yeah.
to be a celebrity gamer?
I don't know
But
why
just,
no
like,
one's
have, like,
picked up
there's a-
no one's picked up the Patch Adams license for a game.
I saw an interview
Yeah,
with
sorry.
the guy that. Do you guys know Arrested Development at all?
Yeah.
The guy that
Sure.
played Job, who was extremely funny. You know, the magician
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
He was
Will
on-
Arnett?
Will
Will
Arnett.
Arnett.
Yeah, he was on Conan O'Brien, like yammering on for like 5 minutes about being addicted to playing multiplayer Call of Duty 4. And like wearing the headset, and his wife like making fun of him all the time. And I was sort of surprised by that.
John Stewart, a gamer.
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, he's actually. I love
He's in
that
the Second
about
Life.
Jon Stewart's in the Second Life. Oh God, what does that reveal about him? Do you think he ever gets busted?
Are you being serious?
No, I think he's kidding.
Because they had that Second Life skit on there.
Oh,
They had a good GTA one too. Did you see that? The guy reporting from live in Liberty City.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Celebrities play games
That was
too.
awesome. Remember
yes.
that?
Yes.
Do they blow their noses? Yeah, we're basically engaged in the male version of
it's the Chris Farley show
like
here.
OK Magazine, or people, celebrities. They're just like us, and then it's like them with no fucking makeup on,
Carrying
getting
dog
a latte.
poop.
Yeah.
They
Picked
play
up their
games
own dog
too. See, we're validated now.
But the difference
be
is,
cool.
if we were willing to buy a magazine full of pictures of celebrities playing video games, then we would be at that rock bottom point of
I might do that.
Like an entire magazine.
But the version for us would be to prove, screen caps of their gamer scores and stuff to prove that they suck. So, for the woman to prove that, Cameron Diaz has got, zits or now and then, or it's when that she has makeup on when she does films.
I bet if there was
they suck. I'd kick that guy's ass at Call of Duty.
Sure, a magazine
sure
that
he
had
gets all the pussy. But
if there was a magazine of the cast from Lost playing video games, Ryan would buy it. If there was a photo spread of Locke playing Warcraft.
6 Halo achievements, whatever.
That'd be pretty rad.
What if Locke had a huge collection of LucasArts adventure games?
What if it was a smoke monster playing World of Warcraft?
See, you'd buy that. Don't you think Locke is a gamer, isn't he? Don't you think?
What class would the smoke monster play?
What?
Don't move on.
That's what we could do. What class would each Lost character play in WoW?
Whoa.
How about we don't do it?
Sean's like, get me
Sean
the fuck out of here.
This look of incredible
We've totally,
disapproval.
we're so, we didn't even finish the E3 week thing.
So to finish the EA thing, there's Dead Space, which I was really looking forward to seeing, but I didn't get to see it, and then it doesn't matter because it's embargoed.
1 hour tangent.
Awesome.
But I did want to point this out. Maybe one of you will name him. The character's, the hero's costume, his space armor, is totally pulled from this Jack Kirby created Thor villain. I'm trying to remember who he was.
Jeez.
Ryan,
I haven't
looking
seen
at
this
you.
And I'll post it. I'll have to post a picture of it on our little blog or something.
How are you with your Thor?
But it was a cool. It's a great place
Marvel.
to draw inspiration from, though. Anyway, no, you don't have
Sorry.
the name right.
Was that it from EA?
Don't know Marvel.
What else we see?
EA had a pretty
They did not show Spore.
They had a cool video to introduce their show.
No,
that was my favorite part.
They really didn't.
I don't remember.
I like
Did I look it
the
up?
kind of the graphics on that.
Yeah,
They were
I'm being
compelling.
facetious when I say it.
No, I liked the typeface.
What was this? I didn't see
I
this.
forgot it.
It was just one of those standard waste of time 15-minute montages with
Sizzle
really
video.
fast
Of why
music.
you should
Hype
love
video.
EA.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're talking
With
about the
some
presentation
cat's
itself.
line, some it's in the game thing, or
I wish we could get
we're
the
ready to
right
play.
beat of that.
One of those.
And also,
All right, didn't that look great? Yeah.
the bullshit like revolutionary screen print of
Right.
a bunch of fists pointing up together at an EA logo. Viva la bullshit. Like, what the fuck was that?
We're
It's
rebels.
not a game publisher. It's a movement.
Yeah, exactly.
TM.
So I guess we could move on to. If you guys had been,
We
to
should
a
talk
few
about
other-
the Microsoft event.
I heard they showed Banjo Kazooie or something. Was that
Banjo.
No.
Actually, we weren't
I
there.
heard
We weren't
good-
at Microsoft.
I heard good things about Banjo Kazooie, even though NeoGaf was going absolutely fucking bonkers about it. But
In a good way or
liking it,
bad?
I heard that the vehicle creation stuff was really fun.
Yeah, Nick liked it a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
No,
Nick likes
there was
everything.
a thread.
No, Nick-
there was
he's
a
the
thread
Mikey
on-
of video games.
Nick, I like everything, but Nick hates rare games. He has not liked a rare game. He hated the original.
Nick
Banjo
doesn't like rare
Kazooie.
games.
No.
I don't want to. I don't want to
Who
insult that.
really
I take
likes
it back. But there's
rare
we
games
just
anyway?
you know how some people
I love
just
Viva
have
Pinata.
very different.
Yeah,
takes
That's
on
me, man.
games with,
I
yeah.
fucking love the stupid games, and then I love the hardcore shooters, and I love RTS, love MMOs.
so you're a big
You
rare
love
fan?
everything.
But there's a difference between I was telling you I was playing Smarty Pants yesterday. I was playing
Dude, I like
Smarty
Smarty
Pants,
Pants, too.
My
It's a
Word
badass
Coach,
game.
and Boom Blocks, and a bunch of stuff like that. But it's I don't. It doesn't mean I think every single one of them is the greatest thing I've ever.
Well,
I'm liking Boom Blocks. We haven't really talked about that on GFW Radio.
We could talk about Robertson playing it.
How are you guys at the shooting gallery stuff?
Man, fuck that.
Tell me about it.
How many Wii games do you need where it's a fake light gun thing?
No, that was-
and what does it even have to do with the theme of Blox?
It doesn't. That level.
They just
Those
threw
are
it in. It's
You're saying that you don't like the levels where you have to throw the
No.
baseball?
I'm talking about the
No,
things
no.
that are
Shooting
straight up just
gallery.
shooting. It's just light gun.
Oh, I haven't gotten that far.
This is a
It
game-
makes
this
no
is
sense.
full
It comes out
levels,
of nowhere.
full
I need
worlds.
you. Yeah.
This is a case of a
Pointing
game
your
where
cursor at
less
the-
would have been more in my case.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
like
Why
padded it
bother?
with crap that shouldn't be there that you kind of have to do. It's like get through stuff. It's like
Yeah,
ugh.
I haven't beaten the first
Whole
shooting gallery, so the one
sections
where you
of
need like
those-
900 points or something. I'm getting
Ugh.
like half that many.
I was really disappointed when because I was playing with a friend and we got to this point where it was like a bunch of that stuff and we're like, God, turn this off. Let's play Grand Theft Auto.
And even like on a smaller scale, like the puzzles where you're protecting a castle, but that all that means is throwing shit at. Again, it's basically throwing shit at monkeys.
Although that's funner.
Bears that are
That's more
better.
fun with two people. Like you can play the castle game with two people, and it's like you get a limited number of shots, and you're trying to see who can.
We're not talking about that.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about where you're actually throwing blocks to destroy a castle.
He's
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about where
there's
you're protecting
sections.
gems from guys that are trying to take them, and
Yeah.
you're just basically blowing them
You
up.
don't want to hit the castle at all.
Oh, okay.
Instead, you want to just hit the guys walking around the screen, and at that point, it's basically another Leica game, with the difference being that you make a throwing motion to shoot.
Yeah.
There's
some
they're big
excellent
chunks
stuff in
of
this
the-
game.
Yeah,
there
for
really
sure.
is.
The
Some
thing that-
great stuff.
The thing I think that's the most disappointing about that game is like the Wii's online sucks so bad that like no one's really going to take advantage of the fact that you can create levels and share them with your friends and stuff like that.
You don't think that's something that could, over time, may grow or?
I hope so, but I don't know.
I'll never use it. I mean, even if it was like a great system, I doubt I would ever download it.
I'd rather just have something that let me like just download a selection of stuff. Like it would be cool if you could if the people who like to build levels could just upload them,
And
and
then
then you
get
could
a
go and
pack.
just download like a random assortment
yeah.
of stuff. Because then that would make sense.
Well,
'cause
that
I would
could
like
happen, couldn't it?
levels.
It would be good
Yeah.
because it needs more. I got around to playing the multiplayer part that everyone was saying like, oh no, wait, you can't talk. You haven't played the multiplayer. So I got to that, and it's like there aren't that many puzzles and things, and like it would be awesome if what you were saying was available to just go and get people's stuff.
Yeah, because I really like the Jenga thing. That's
Yeah,
my
that
favorite
Yeah,
thing.
that was
That's the
super
cool
fun.
thing. You know what's
Yeah.
annoying to me? I only like the color Jenga one
Yeah.
because when you play the regular one, there's no incentive to. I mean, other than to take a high risk maneuver and pull from the bottom. Otherwise, you just like keep doing all these pissant moves from the top. And so what I was
Yeah.
thinking is like you should get more points for pulling for riskier tugs. For going
Yeah.
to the
Good,
bottom.
that's a good point.
And so they
yeah.
kind of have that with the colored things, but not quite. It just
You
gives you
do
a
get-
restriction on the type you could pull. And then in addition, I wanted like so I went to options hoping I could do all this. Can I have that? Can I set a timer? Because then it could take an awful long time, of course. If people are being super cautious
It's
and pulling
not-
from the top of the stack, you can't put a timer
Yeah.
on. And I mean, little things like that, it wouldn't have taken very
Well,
long at all
I
to
had
put
the
in
most-
the options
The
menu.
thing is how do you get gold on that? Because most of the time I find that they do make it more challenging by like giving the ranks. So on that, what you're saying, how
No,
do you get
in the
gold?
straight, you don't get gold at all. What happens is you get 5 points for every pull you make, and you lose a point for every block you didn't attempt to pull that falls to the ground. So there's no you're not pulling.
This is
points
multiplayer.
Yeah, multiplayer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a different setup.
I enjoyed the one where you try to knock down a certain amount of point, like the one where you knock down what you can, and then the point blocks all fall, and however many you collect.
Oh yeah.
That one is the one I had the most fun with multiplayer. Did you play that one?
I did, but I want to make sure we're talking about the same one. There's a bunch of point blocks, and you knock them into fields that are worth like multipliers.
No,
point
that's like
multiplying fields.
the shuffleboard kind of game. I like that too. But
That
she's talking about
wouldn't that be cool if you could just grab it instead and then flick it like a shuffleboard
instead of having to hit
Instead
it with
of- yeah.
that would be nice.
This one is just purely whatever you knock off is added to your score.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Those
Without
ones.
you don't have to
Those
hit anything specific. It's
Yeah,
just whatever
I
falls
like
off
those.
there.
Those
That
are
one's way
cool.
fun.
Those
Yeah.
are pretty fun.
Yeah, and I like this better than I like the. I don't know. Maybe because I'm prone to perfectionism in games. I get really compulsive about that one that you play single player where you're trying to knock down all the blocks at once, and you get a gold if you do it in
Oh,
one
yeah.
go.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll
That's how
just
I
sit
play,
there.
yeah.
That's my
I'll just
favorite.
sit there and do it over and over
Same
again,
here.
and I'm like, motherfucker.
I don't consider myself a winner till I get the one
Yeah.
the one hit.
It
And it's fun to
drives
just
me
find that
insane.
like one spot that knocks the whole thing that makes the chain reaction
Yeah.
happen. That's-
That would be another thing that would be great for multiplayer. If it had a split screen and you basically took turns, you each had 3 balls, and then and it presents those exact same levels that you're talking about, where you can possibly get it in a single one,
Yeah.
or in 2 or 3. I mean, I was hoping for that. I ended up kind of liking some of the levels on the single player more than the multiplayer one.
Yeah.
I do have to say, not to talk about my kid again, but I did play Boom Blox with her a while ago, and she took this is just like a great commercial for school for getting educated. She took a physics class this year, and I was playing with her, and there were a few of those points where I was trying to get the one hit, and I didn't know what to do. And she was actually looking at the screen and figuring it out from physics and explaining to me why it would work.
Wait, how old's your daughter?
She's 14.
She's in 8th grade, and she's taking physics?
Yeah, she took some, like, advanced thing.
I was taking a class called reading.
Yeah, I know. Me too. She got her mom's brain. For me, she knows how to play WoW.
She needs to start
and how to burp.
Extorting her neighbors.
So did her methods work?
Yes, they worked.
Wow.
I mean, I was like, you're smart.
She's going to be an engineer
Who are you?
or something.
Yeah, it was incredible. It blew me away. And then she would say, like, yeah, Dad, it's because the negative space created by the blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nerd.
You're like, whatever, nerd.
And then I laughed at her.
Tips.
Oh, nerd.
It's not like I mean,
See if any girls like you. Huh?
I mean, a lot of it's just like an intuitive type of physics.
Well,
as well.
sure,
That's,
I know.
think, like comes
No,
hardwired
she
in
wasn't
the human mind.
applying,
Who knows? Maybe she does see
Quit trying
like
to
I'm
knock
not
her down.
saying she's not
marks and-
smart, but I'm saying that.
No, I know it. Yeah, it's.
But here's the thing, though: if she becomes a physicist, be wary of. You have cases like my old roommate, who was not coincidentally very into. I mean, not roommate, but guy on the same floor of the dorms, was way into Magic the Gathering. But when someone jumped from our 12-story dorm, killed himself that year, everyone's downstairs freaking out. They told everyone to leave the building, and the first thing he does is he's like, I got to go back up. And they're like, why? To get his algorithm calculator so he could work out all these equations that had to do with this guy's.
He wanted to know
totally
if he had reached terminal velocity.
Yeah, he wasn't laughing or anything. He was just like,
Wow.
he wanted to.
All right, I'm not going to equate her with that.
Or like Oppenheimer trying to poison his professors. And
I don't think you have to actually be like an emotionless, math-obsessed person to get into physics.
no.
Yeah.
Hey, he had emotions, man.
I liked physics.
Curiosity. Wait, that's not an emotion. I'm feeling very curious today.
Schadenfreude.
So I think we can't. I think we can't talk about any of the other ones yet, right? Because
Mass Effect, but that's kind of played. What can we say about Mass Effect? Oh, the EA.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Next. Just joking.
The PC one has way better frame rate.
Yeah,
It looks
the load
nice.
time-
It has
load
levels
times are
to
way
it.
Load
better.
times are way better. It has fully customizable button layout.
You
That's
can
right.
control your squad members individually, but you can't take direct control of them. That would be the step that I'm still.
isn't there like a
Wishing-
tactical map too, or overlay, or something?
It's
like
just
that?
it's just the interface is better.
Oh,
It gives you more options.
Additional missions and.
All they're doing is they're letting you download the Bring Down the Sky add-on pack that they had for 360 on day one for free, which is a little odd. I've heard two different stories when they brought it over on last Friday to show it. They were like, well, we just didn't, it would have had to delay it a little further to actually add it to the retail copy. And then when we were at the EA event, they were like, oh, we just wanted to get people to experience what it's like to download content. I buy number 1 over number 2.
Yeah, number 2 is a spin
I'm
of number 1.
not sure if people need to experience what it's like to download content.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's PC gamers never download content.
Right.
Never experience that amazing thing.
I mean, if I could go back in time and not play the 360 version, I would have held out for the PC one. It's improved enough.
Yeah, I didn't touch that game, so maybe I'd enjoy it.
Now's the time. I've been meaning to try it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
wait for the PC one in a couple of weeks if you're going to try it. I
Let's
wanted
all
to play through. That was a slow burn for me. At first, it took me 8 hours to
their games
convince
can't
myself
be that way.
that hey, this actually is good. And then by the time I got to the end, I was like, oh, I should play this again as the bad guy or the good guy actually, because I had played bad. And I was like, when I heard about the PC one, I'm like, I'll wait for that before I do that.
Yeah.
So
Cool. I like video games.
okay, I do too.
So, any other event stuff, or we got
Well, I
some
think the rest is
now?
sort of embargoed now. I think we're caught up to real time here.
Any of us
we
been playing anything new or interesting then?
Well, I played Lost Winds.
Yeah, we heard.
I've already talked about it, so
I've been
all I got.
occupied with the
A
same.
warning.
Same
I'm still
stuff.
playing
Consumer-
GTA, so
Consumer
I might
warning
try it again.
on My Word Coach, which could be a great game for Wii. I got it for multiplayer.
My Word
Anthony was
Coach?
with me when I got it. $49.99.
is that what that's called?
Yeah, and the reason I got it is because they have Ubisoft has this whole series of My Ex-Coach. Like, I actually had like the My French Coach that I was like for last time I was on a plane. I was messing with that. But we got it because the back of the box makes it looks like multiplayer bookworm type games. And that is what I went in hoping to have. And now I was bummed because imagine if you had like Bonnie's Bookstore or like Bookworm and stuff, and it was just on your Wii, it had a split screen, and you just use your Wiimote to like circle the words that you find, and you try to find more than the other person. Great game to play with Melissa. But it's one of those games where you have to unlock all the multiplayer modes and individually. So every type of multiplayer game in there you have to unlock. And it's not like a quick type thing. It's like Ryan was talking about the most... it's like fucking getting the Uber Saw in Team Fortress. I was going to say, getting carts in Mario Kart, but it's probably more like getting the Uber Saw in Team Fortress before you can play multiplayer.
You know what
that's a big, fuck, it's going back to the store. Fuck
You know what the Wii needs? A game genie.
It does, dude.
That's what it calls for, man. Yeah. It's like, fuck that. I'm going to put in the game genie code.
I do have to apologize because I said that was tended to be more typical of Japanese games, but this was made by Ubisoft Montreal.
So Canadian games too. Not American games.
Wait for My Life Coach.
Yeah.
My Life Coach.
It'll be like some guy coming on the screen and be like, love yourself! Get organized!
Oh, God.
Quit procrastinating!
Take off the fingerless gloves.
We play games to get away from that shit.
Yeah.
Smarty Pants is pretty fun. I recommend that to you guys.
Yeah, good game.
I like it a lot.
I played it on Facebook.
Wait, but what is it?
Play it with on the Wii with your family.
Yeah.
It's another game show quiz type thing on Wii, but the interesting thing is you put your age in, and it will tune the questions accordingly. So that way you're not getting these questions about fucking silent films and
it'll also
or conversely about Hannah Montana.
But it'll also adjust if you're really good or really bad at something. So if you fail at every science question, it'll take you down to a 6-year-old. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's another problem with this. Every time I play these games, they're I'm just playing fun for Melissa. It's hard because I want to I know just shut up, just play the game with her. Don't sit here and be a critic. And it's I always get angry at the tiny little things they could have done to improve the game. So in that one, for in Boombox we were playing, I was like, God, why can't I put point values on these, or why can't I just put a timer on it? And this thing, it's there are whole categories that I would like to go to the options menu and take out. In our case, sports. Neither Melissa or I know the fucking first thing about him. It's if the question isn't about Michael Jordan, we're just take a guess. We're getting it wrong.
Muhammad Ali is the other one.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali, or Bo or something.
I'm right there with you.
If the question isn't, does Bo know true or false?
That was always the last pie I got in Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah, that was always the obstacle. Can you get the sports question? Yeah.
So that would have been one thing I wanted to pull. I can't remember now, but there were a bunch of other little things that would have been. Well, she liked that. That was fair because there's a gaming category, and of course it has card games and craps and stuff, but it's largely video games, and so that I have a huge advantage there. And I was like, okay, well then you have the fashion one, but the fashion one's the same thing.
Do you guys argue about this? Because I have played mini golf with Sean and Melissa, and they're the most strangely competitive couple I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
You guys are into it. They're writing down the scores.
Yeah.
Me and Sarah go play mini golf. We're not gonna take score. You guys are both got your own scorecards, sharpening your pencils.
We always take score. We have to take
if
score.
You stop playing,
that was a mulligan.
If you stop caring about your scores in mini golf, you get to the point when you see that 5-year-old kid who's fucking running onto your hole when he shouldn't be. Fucking parents need to rein him in, and he's just basically scooting the ball around with the club. That's what happens to you if you stop paying attention to
You're
score.
at a mini golf
by the
place.
5th
That's
hole.
what they do.
You're going to be that kid.
You're a grown-up.
And then it's why don't you, let's just fuck it. Pick your ball, go down to the hole and drop it in.
Why don't you go to a real golf course?
Because I don't have enough money and there's not a par 3 nearby.
But there is a difference. There is a difference. You guys have enthusiasm.
I would gladly go. I do like golf, but I need one of you to go with me.
Yes.
I like mini golf.
They have a really good mini golf
Sunnyvale
place that we've been to. Wait, Sunnyvale?
That's where we go usually.
That's not golf.
Is that the one? Is it called Golden Tee or something?
No,
it's Castro Valley.
Golfland.
Oh,
good arcade too.
This place that we were going to is the most ridiculously
last time you
clean,
were at
well-kept mini golf place I've ever seen. Kind of creepy almost, especially for it being in the Bay Area. You kind of expect it to be trashed.
What was our idea when we were there last? We were like, let's open a mini golf place and we'll have every hole tell a story.
Yeah, no.
And then our whole thing was like, this is basically the equivalent of like if we were to try to when we wonder how we sound when we're talking about games to other people or for their point of view, it's us that when you do this thought experiment and you're like, okay, let's imagine if you were to turn a miniature golf course into a narrative somehow. That's what it sounds like when we talk about story to someone who doesn't know about games, and they think of like, Pac-Man stuff, and they're like, "Sure, fuck you guys talking about this story."
I actually think that's a cool idea. You should do that.
Sure.
No, I wrote a short story about that actually about a guy who opens up his own mini golf place. It's his ultimate dream to tell the story of this Vietnam vet's like his life through a series of 18 mini golf holes.
And the ball is like it's going in all these traps and shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fucking
Can you read that on the podcast next week?
Well, I have my own uses for it,
Okay.
but
That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What was it called? Or
I don't have a title for it yet. It's actually
the
for
balls
another
they carry.
project of mine.
How about that?
Yeah.
You can
The
have
balls
that
they carry.
Yeah.
That is excellent.
one. Okay, there you go. You can
I'll
have
say
that
that.
one for free.
That's rad, dude.
But I mean, I think that's like a good stand-in for just how ridiculous sometimes it is to even think about like trying to tell a story with a game.
Yeah.
You know, it's like so much artifice, such an unwieldy thing. Like you don't look at it and say, you know what, Pac-Man would be so much better if it told a story.
I was thinking about that today when I was looking at Samba de Amigo for the Wii. I was thinking, watching other people play, I was able to do something I never able to do when I'm playing a rhythm game, which is look at the shit that's going on other than like the color lights I got to pay attention to win the game.
Yeah.
And you know, you look around and oh wow, there's like all these people dancing in the city. There's like some whole little mini story going on here with all these people in the city having a festival or whatever, but like, who are they designing all that for and spending all that time for? Because all you
for
can
your
do
other friends
for
who
your
are
other
on the
friends.
couch smoking the bong.
That's all I can do is look at the blue bubbles.
Think
Like,
about
whoa.
this. As John Davison pointed out on One Up Yours last week, it's like Blox has got but if you don't hit the skip button, it's trying to tell you a story about like why these bears are attacking.
Why are they getting in a castle?
Why are you doing that?
It's trying
It's
you gotta
basically
wonder,
our mini
like,
golf. That's the perfect,
You gotta wonder,
like,
is there someone on staff there who's like, this is the story they've always wanted to tell? Like, this is their opportunity.
Yeah,
to
but really it doesn't fit because it's just about, I don't care! These cows are saving this kingdom! I wrote the story when I was 10. Now it's going to be made public.
So how did we get on this tangent? What were we
I
talking
don't know.
about?
This
Oh,
whole
what were we
podcast is
this is
one
the smart
tangent.
pants
It's
thing.
kind of what it is. It's one long tangent.
Oh, did anyone? Jeff, you picked it up. I was playing Williams' pinball collection for Wii.
I did, yeah, it's nice.
It's kind of cool how you hold a nunchuck and another thing, and it's like the flippers. At least gives you the sense that your hands are spaced apart like they would be on a real pinball machine, and then you shake it to tilt.
Dude, that sounds good.
And the even the stick, you use the analog stick, but you pull it back, and it's not just like where just simply touching it guarantees you're gonna like. You can actually like fuck it up and not do it well enough.
Yeah.
I need to explain what I'm talking about. Basically, when you pull the plunger and shoot the ball into the playing field, you use the analog stick. So you have to like pretty much you have to snap it pretty clean, otherwise you won't launch it through. The cameras like work really well on it. Talking about a camera in a pinball game, because I guess that's pretty much all important. You know, I mean,
it is
when
important.
you are playing
Sure.
that sort of game.
Are they
Right.
classic
They're good-
machines
they're good
or are they
machines.
original machines?
They have a lot that you'll recognize from the pinball arcade we've gone to in Alameda.
Yeah.
So like it's like a Gargar or something. It's like some stupid demonic thing. It looks like the kind of tattoo like a metalhead would have in like 1981.
Yeah.
But they have that, and then I like to prefer the stuff like, you know, Funhouse and Whirlwind
They have
and
Funhouse.
Taxi and then
Funhouse is the shit.
all
See,
those
you
are
know,
in there.
it's
Space
funny because these
Shuttle,
machines
Black
are
Knight.
another example of what we're just talking about.
Yeah,
They all
pinball
put on this
machines-
artifice of stories.
Yeah, they
Exactly.
totally do.
Exactly. Like this is
I don't know. What bumper do I hit?
I'm trying to remember what came up with the mini golf. I was like, there was something that like was on my mind that made me think about it, because yesterday I was thinking about our golf analogy, and that's why I was playing the pinball games and thinking about the artists and the way that they lay out the table. Like,
But it works.
how we think
I mean,
it's
there's some pinball games you can play where there's like a real like sense of.
But
you know,
again, I
place
can't
or
ever
something.
get any of that unless I'm watching someone else play.
Yeah,
when I'm playing,
just so
I'm not
worried.
seeing any of that.
well,
Yeah.
Funhouse has something like that. There's the big mannequin head in the middle of the table, and its eyes move and its mouth opens and stuff, and it's saying all this random shit. Sometimes he's angry with you, and sometimes he's telling you to have a hot dog, and then you can put him to sleep. And when you put him to sleep, his mouth opens, and you knock the ball into his mouth. You put the balls in his mouth, and then he flips out, and he starts screaming, and he shoots multi-balls out. But there's some kind of a story to this this ventriloquist dummy head.
Isn't that game from the late 70s or early 80s?
Yeah.
You know, it's just some like drug-inspired nightmare that someone had.
Some of them are.
We will make a game with the ventriloquist dummy head. You will spout inanities.
That should be our homework: is to like go play a pinball game and like try to write the story down.
Yeah.
What is it?
That's great.
The big problem with this thing though is that like some of my favorite pinball games will never appear in these collections because they were licensed for the longest time. It was like it was either Twilight Zone or some random ass shit, even like Harley Davidson, and it was like pinball machines became the equivalent of like what slot machines are now in casinos. It's like you go in and there's a Tabasco slot machine. Like who's like, dude, that'll get them to spend their money.
Hey, I love Tabasco. Let me put some quarters in that.
But some of those like the Star Wars one but it's got Pinbot. Go on, Joe. What do you think about that?
No, the thing for me is that any pinball game that I can play on any video game system basically makes me happy because I just have that like childhood thing, and maybe you guys have it with video games being a little younger than me, but like because I can never play enough because of the money limitations. So I always was stressed out about pinball all the time. I only had so many dollars I could spend.
That
and
also
like my
made it
mom
fun.
wouldn't give me any more.
Nowadays-
So every game was like fucking important.
Yeah.
You know?
Made it fun,
and now
though.
I can like, new game again.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh, yeah, we totally
Fuck
had
you,
that.
Mom.
Yeah.
They made it fun in the same way that having a single Nilla wafer made the Nilla wafer good in daycare. Whereas if you had a box, if you buy
You're
a
like,
box
oh,
of
this
them
shit's
now,
nasty.
it's just a law of like, diminishing returns in the same way that it is as much as I enjoyed on Wii, it's never as fun as when I knew my dad gave me 3/4 and you go spend them how you want. Like, because then you're like, you actually care if the ball goes down the gutter.
I remember that
Yeah.
for Street Fighter because I would take my lunch money. I would skip lunch every day, come home, eat like 2 bowls of cereal because I was a fatty. And go to Stop and Go and spend my lunch money on Street Fighter, and it was like, all right, is it going to be over in 30 minutes, or am I going to get like 2 hours out of this? And
Right.
like this guy walks through that is a total badass, and you're like, oh, god damn it, I'm going to lose all my money.
For me, it was like the Double Dragon kind of games, which you knew had a discrete ending, but you knew you had $3 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, okay, can I get past level 4 this time? Fuck, I didn't get it. Oh, that
Yeah.
damn Abobo.
Both of those,
Abobo's
the fighting
scary.
game thing with the equivalent of a wager on it did. It did increase the tension because it's not like you're just playing for like your rep. I mean, you'd have to leave, man. You'd be out of mind.
Yeah.
Either that or you'd be the kid who sits there pretending he's playing the track screen until some bigger kid comes by and asks you to fucking move so you can play.
Nowadays, Jeff, you should despoil yourself. My dad just recently bought a Superman pinball table.
Really?
Yeah. He
Nice.
just has it at his house.
Nice.
He plays it all he wants.
It's high maintenance though.
No.
Changing rubber bands and springs.
It doesn't have to get changed that often. He took it to a guy that's all he does. Just fixes old pinball tables.
Wow.
Had him fix it up. The guy even redid all the Superman artwork in it by hand.
Oh my
And
God.
Do you think he ever
nice.
Very cool.
Do you think he ever tried to like tell your mom that they needed to have sex on the machine?
What the hell?
That's out of line, man.
My
Just
dad.
think of like how like a pinball. I just imagine like someone's dad with like a Hessian like pinball machine, like Gargon or whatever it was. and
It's
like,
not a Lamborghini.
He's like, he's like, honey. He's like, when I was a teenager, I always had this dream.
Dude, I don't want to think about
Well,
what
those
my parents-
dreams
You were
are
conceived on that thing, man.
Those dreams are often splayed across the table itself. I mean, how many pinball
That's so
machines
true.
have
They
just like
are, dude.
women, that Alameda pinball place is just full of all these pinball machines from the 60s and 70s that's just
Bikini
hot
babes,
women
yeah.
with like really gross looking painted faces.
That would be rad. Imagine if there was like a combination of like, how they have the beat-off booths at some porn places where it's just a video screen. But what if you go into the little black closet and it's just a pinball machine and you fucking close the door behind you and you play pinball and wank?
What if?
What if,
Pinball,
John?
you definitely need 2 hands to play pinball.
Well, That's why I'm not even
They invented the double flippers, both left and right flippers control on the left side of the game, or the right.
They did?
In these booths that I invented, they do.
I was actually picturing it being more like a regular pinball machine with a built-in flashlight.
Oh,
For the coin slot.
no.
Oh, dude.
Tilt.
Lots of
We've reached a new low.
Yeah,
with
we
this.
have.
Wow.
Well,
So,
that's
have
like
you guys
so-
ever played Earthshaker? That's a pinball machine that I really enjoyed.
It sounds like the Whirlwind series.
It's based on
ecological disaster.
It's actually kind of like creepy in that it was made in the 80s and it's about a giant California earthquake.
I remember.
Yeah,
this.
And
I
the
don't
whole,
remember this.
The
whole thing.
board, like while you're playing, you'll hit something that'll make an earthquake happen, and depending on like how powerful the earthquake was, it'll like mess a bunch of stuff up on the board, and like
That's kind of neat.
It's really
That sounds
cool.
rad. And
Yeah.
for those people, the purists who like the really old machines when there's nothing but there's like 3 bumpers
Yeah.
and a bunch of fucking empty space and like a pornographic picture underneath. Like
I'm raising my hand over
I
there.
like
Yeah.
the late
I like
ones
those.
right before like pinball industry just completely tanked, where
Yeah.
they were just ridiculously convoluted mousetraps, but for that reason it was interesting in the
Yeah.
same way
Hell
that
yeah.
like any kind of bizarre engineering
Yeah,
shit.
I like that too, but it was the next step when they had to compete with the video game machines.
And they had
that's
video
when they
tops.
lost it to me.
Like Star
Yeah.
Wars Episode 1 pinball.
yeah, and they started
had that.
throwing, digital shit in there.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Some of that was okay in my
Well,
opinion.
not to me, but that's because I was
Like
in
there would be
school.
just like a really rudimentary MIDI game that would happen on the LCD thing up
Yeah,
top
like
now and
I
then.
don't
A
mind that at all,
Starfighter
yeah.
battle.
Because it wasn't like competing with the games. It was still so like hokey, and the
There was that-
technology was so.
Remember Baby Pac-Man though, where there's a
It was-
pinball machine on the bottom, and then once you got
Oh,
into a certain
right.
spate, you went into the
Oh,
top
yeah,
screen. Like
that's right.
Pac-Man.
That was
That was
cool.
I
kinda
love
cool.
that.
Yeah.
There was also Terminator 2 had that thing where you could get the one like bonus section where like suddenly you'd have to look up, and on the really crappy lo-fi LCD monocolored screen you would use the gun to shoot like Terminator robots
Yeah.
coming at you. I always liked that, But
Dude, that now we're just doing random memories, but the fucking remember like that game Operation Wolf and that whole like
Hell yeah.
genre
Oh,
of
yeah.
arcade shooter, and they had the
Well,
Terminator.
Terminator,
2
and then there was the
Judgment Day.
what about the Aerosmith one? Did you guys?
Let's not talk about
Revolution
that.
X.
Well, let's talk about it, but let's just know that it's painful to remember that we actually put money into that.
Not me.
I always loved
did.
shooting games.
Operation
I'm actually
Wolf
a total
had the-
badass at marksmanship shooting games. Like no one in this building can beat me at marksmanship shooting games.
What about the really old ones where like they had like the haunted house theme one, and there was like fucking creepy executioners and
Beast
shit in it?
Buster. Beast Buster, is that what you're talking about?
I would not even remember
Why
the
not?
name. It was like really stilted graphics and shit. And even
Yeah.
before that, like when you go to the Arcade Expo, they had ones where they were almost like miniature shooting galleries, like the kind that you'll go, like if you go to some family fun center and it's just basically a light gun based thing, but they would be like housed inside of a glass. And it would actually be below,
like a
and it would be
Midway
a mirror
game,
back
yeah.
there, so that's where they could have all this depth to it down there without the
Or
machine
like
being
Skeet Shoot.
14
Remember
feet
Skeet
long.
Shoot? It was like a projector, and it would just show
Oh,
this,
yeah. Oh,
this
my
like
God, yes.
beam
Yes.
of light on
Chuck
the
E.
screen,
Cheese's-
and you'd have
Chuck E.
to
Cheese
shoot
had
the,
that. Yeah.
That was awesome, man.
Yeah, that was really like not very forgiving. Like you would just try to shoot over and over again. It was really hard. You're like, I'm aiming at it. But yeah,
I never felt compelled to play that one.
did I really just
It was-
criticize skeet shooting?
Yeah.
You did, man.
Wow.
8 out of 10.
Imagine if you were doing reviews back then, like going to Chuck E. Cheese.
Reviewing those.
I would have been a
review all
very
that shit
different
there.
person.
And part of their review is
do
like
they
the
exist
cabinet
still?
art. You got to like,
Chuck E. Cheese exists. It is not
That'd be
the
awesome.
same as it was.
And you're not
What, is it
allowed
more
to go.
serious now?
it's all redemption.
You're not
prizes
allowed to
now.
go in Chuck E. Cheese if you're over the age of like 15 and you don't
Unless
have a
you have a
child
kid,
with you.
yeah.
Man,
Serious?
no
Yeah.
more dates for me.
For our younger listeners, Chuck E. Cheese that you know, the Chuck E. Cheeses that our younger listeners know now are like just the saddest shadow of what they used to be. The one in El Cajon, San Diego that I went to as a kid was enormous. They would have like the dining area was just this like, auditorium sized thing with the big animatronic show going on. And then you would crawl in this mouse hole underneath that, right underneath the stage, go through this like carpeted maze on the interior and behind the animatronics, end up on some slide that would take you down into, some other areas and stuff. And then there was like games. That was where to go when you wanted to see all the cutting edge games that would appear on that like TV game show that they had way back in the day. And you'd be like, oh shit, there's a game called Krull. Basically, then you go to Chuck E. Cheese to find it. But
Chuck E. Cheese was
now it's
like
all
the-
redemption shit. It's like,
Yeah,
can
well-
you drop a coin in here to get more coins out?
My boyfriend used to work in the kitchen of an Olive Garden that overlooked a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic graveyard. So there'd just be like lots of like they'd put Chuck E. Cheese's there, and he'd slowly over the days watch the skin rot off, and then you'd have the skeleton underneath.
I wonder if
awesome.
where that guy on the
photos.
YouTube who makes the YouTubes of his like showbiz pizza.
That stuff is amazing.
ensemble.
That's
like
pretty
where he
great,
does like a band like playing songs.
Yeah, and he like puts all this love into it, and they're playing like nasty like hip hop club songs and shit.
I would go see a live version of that. Like if he toured the country, I would go
see his animatronic
Yeah,
band.
I would go see that band. Like I would pay $15, $20 to see that.
You'd have to get blazed though.
Oh, I would.
Fun.
Not that we endorse such behavior.
I would totally be there with you.
Blaze means enthused.
Yes.
You're okay.
Yeah.
You're on
I'm
the
not
meth,
up with your
the meth,
lingo
right?
of today.
That's the new lingo.
That's the new lingo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to get really enthusiastic.
Take the Crystal
before I see
Cruiser
cool
and the Crank
music.
Caravan,
Yeah.
I drink some Gatorade.
the tweaker toboggan, and
Yeah, but Chuck E. Cheese back in the day, though, was like the place where you would just dream about going. It's like you got to go like at least for me, I got to go like a couple of times a year,
Birthdays,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Report card day. Always brought
that
the
was
report
never
card.
that was
imagine
never
your
a good day
parents
for
sitting
me.
in that place. Well, maybe my dad was
Free
into
tokens.
stuff. It was like, yeah, your poor mom sits there. She's got to try to round up like one of your friends' moms, and they sit there and whatever.
Yeah, although
But
I
this is
remember
boring.
Chuck E. Cheese, like the adults could order beer back in the day. Like
Yeah.
they could actually sit around and like have some pizza. Order
Yeah, they could
beer.
enjoy
it was
themselves.
Like good pizza.
Listen to Beatles songs played by animatronic puppets. It's
They had the fake ass Elvis dog too.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
him? He had his own
yeah.
room. So that was the other thing. They would have separate dining rooms dedicated just to these ones, like the Elvis dog, and then they had some other thing that had its own room.
You got to know like who were the mechanics working on these things all the time. You know that the Chuck E. Cheese showbiz would have to have like a couple 3 mechanics just working on all this stuff all
I
the
believe
time.
they're called Imagineers.
Imagineers.
Oh wait, that's Disney.
It's also the only place to go to play like the Laserdisc games, like
your
Cobra
Space Aces
Command,
and
the
stuff.
sit down
Oh,
one,
yeah.
or like the sit down versions of like Red Baron and stuff like
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Excellent.
Nostalgia on that.
Ah,
Those
the
are the
past.
days.
Yeah. Things were better back then.
I remember when I used to be a kid and I wanted to work at a video game magazine.
What happened to your dream?
Just stop there.
That's it.
That's it. We're done. It's time to get.
We're done. We've been here a
5
long
o'clock.
time. We podcasted a long time.
Yeah, almost 2 hours.
Over 2 hours.
Over 2 hours.
Two.
I think
according to this.
we've got through the first item on our agenda, which is to talk about the pre-E3 stuff.
Yeah.
Were there any other items? We'll do them next
We
week.
don't have time for items.
Okay, we didn't even take a break.
It was that fun.
It was that
I've had to
fun.
pee for like an hour and a half too.
You have?
I gotta go pee too.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Oh,
All right.
let's take it out on this ad. This
Oh,
opened
right,
this ad
okay.
in the magazine. And it's for SpectreSoft PC and internet monitoring software, and it promises to record everything your employees do on the internet. Down below, you got these guilty ass looking people.
Mm-hmm. They look like bad people.
There's like a white dude,
Terrible.
and he says he passes company secrets via the web. Asian guy in the middle who surfs porn websites from inside his cubicle, and a woman who shops online after closing her office door.
Oh.
But
bad people.
it was funny to
Wow,
me
could
that
that
they
be
had
more stereotypical?
that they had that they had the Asian dude surfing porn from his cubicle because the Wilt Chamberlain of internet porn surfing was just outed on a newscast last week, and he had I forget the number, but he had it was like 100,000 porn clicks a day at his office.
What?
Or something. It was just some inconceivable number where they had to actually break it down and see that it was just like hundreds in any given minute that he was clicking through. So on that note, we're out. Make sure you know what your company's employees are doing. They could be recording this podcast.